with Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
We like some of these younger guys, Skip, but there's no way I would have given up on Julio. I'd have bit the bullet on that. I'd have reworked some contracts. As Julio, hey, I'd kick the can down the road, Skip. He's too good of a player. But I think what we're seeing now is that the likelihood of your favorite player that started with your team, him finishing with your team, ain't going to happen.
It's a long shot for it to happen. So you and I have gone back and forth on this for feels like months.
Yes.
And I told you from the start, my gut feeling was Julio might have one more big year in him, but I would not blame or certainly condemn the Falcons if they said if they used the old Branch Rickey motto of always trade a player 1 year before you think you should. Mm-hmm. He had a hamstring issue, cost him about half the year last year. Will it be recurring? I don't know. As he goes into 33 and 34-year-old years, will he start to wane? The odds are probably so. Will he be that guy? I'm not saying he's going to turn into Floyd Mayweather last night,
right.
but again, will he be that guy who makes the difference in your team? I don't think so. You know how much I thought of Kyle Pitts. I know how much you thought of Kyle Pitts. So they said, we got our guy. Thank you, draft gods.
Right.
He fell to us. What were they at? 4.
4.
And here we go. Mm-hmm. So we will feature him, and he's got big shoes to fill.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I think he's more of a wideout than a tight end. That's just me. I think he's Megatron. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. And Calvin Ridley's got even bigger shoes to fill because he goes to 1. And you know what happens when you go to 1? Yep. You're going to get more double teams and way more attention. Kyle Pitts is going to get a lot of double team. But I think Atlanta did okay, except I thought they could get a 1 because they leaked that they had a 1 on the table. Yeah. I didn't buy it at the time.
Well, if they had a 1, they'd have traded him at the draft. That's why they didn't trade him at the draft, because they didn't have a 1. They thought they could drum up support come late.
They were trying to drum it up.
Yes.
They were trying to hype the market, and it did not work. No. So they wind up with a 2 this coming draft and then a 5 in the following draft,
right.
23. And again, it's a nice move. I'm not going to go to great move for the Titans, but it's a good move for the Titans. Give it a shot for a year or 2 and see what happens, because they lost, what's the kid's name? Corey Davis. So they lost him. They lost Jonnu Smith to the Patriots, obviously via free agency.
But Skip, if you look at what they got A.J. Brown. And when I look at Julio and A.J. Brown, both of these guys remind me of T.O. Big, physical, great run after the catch, can make tough contested.
A.J. Brown is something to behold. And he's on the verge of stardom. Right.
Okay, Tannehill is great at play action. Mm-hmm. Well, you can play action when you got a guy that can go get you 2,000 yards in the regular season with Derrick Henry in the backfield.
Yeah.
Now, Fisker, he's not Travis Kelce. He's not one of these elite tight ends. But now he's going to get a lot of single coverage because you're going to what are you going to do? You drop the safety down there. That means you're going to go one-on-one with A.J. and Julio.
Yep.
Now, see, the thing is with Julio had a little nagging hamstring injury in training camp.
He did.
And it leaked over into the season. He didn't take care of it. Skip, you know how it is. See, I got to get out there. You're going to be ready to go. They put that pressure on you. And when he should have taken care of himself, but that's us. We always feel like we're going to do the best that we can to help the team, and we can help the team by being out there. But they need to understand one thing about trainers. The trainer job is not to get you totally healthy. His job is to get you healthy enough to get your ass on that field. That's his job, Skip.
Yep.
So anything other than that, don't fool yourself. So Julio is ready to go. And when I was talking to him, I said, well, why you feel like you need to be ready to go now? He says, because I needed to know that come August, September, when I need to step on the gas, I can go. So he's assured me he's 100% and he's ready to go.
Okay. The great thing about Julio is he's a rare, great wide receiver without the ego to match.
No.
There's no diva in him. He just works hard.
Yeah, but
keeps his mouth pretty shut.
He does, but here's the thing what people confuse. People say because he's not vocal, he doesn't have ego, he doesn't have pride.
No, I got that.
He got immense pride.
Sure he does.
And it was damaged when it was leaked that he was going to be available. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. You can argue that it was leaked because Atlanta wanted a big auction. He's available, come one, come all, and they didn't come.
Right.
I think the market was telling you what the rest of the league thinks is more in line what I'm thinking than what you're thinking.
Right.
But they don't think he'll come back to haunt the Falcons eventually.
I believe he's going to be spectacular this year.
Do you?
With A.J. Brown on the other side, and he's going to get a lot of single coverage because, like you said, I think the thing is, Skip, he comes in with that credibility. And so now there's like, okay, we're gonna double AJ. Do you really want? So you really want your second corner dealing with him? You want your third corner dealing with Julio?
Yeah.
Even Skip, even if he's not the 1,900-yard receiving Julio, Skip, the guy has 3 200-yard games. He has a 300-yard game.
He does.
And even though he had a bad year, let this sink in. Yards per game, he's number one. His 85 yards a game, Skip, was the second lowest of his career.
Yep.
85 yards a game. So if that's 1,300, 1,400 yards, even in a bad season. What receiver wouldn't take 1,300, 1,400 yards?
Yep. Well, you can look it up way back on my Twitter timeline. The moment that Dimitrov traded up to get him in the draft,
Yes.
I said, this is a franchise-changing move because he was a difference maker at Atlanta. Unlike any receiver I'd ever seen before him at Atlanta, he was different.
I was at the draft that night, Skip, because that was the year I went to the Hall of Fame, and they had all the guys that go into the Hall of Fame. They came to the draft. I didn't realize how big he was until you standing next to him. And then you realize, like, whew, man, this dude, 230.
230. What do you have? 6'3"?
He's 6'3",
not
230. He ran 4.35, 4.36.
It's just freakish.
Yes.
And I thought it was a big deal that A.J. Brown did a TikTok in which he was just flat out down on his hands and knees, please come and join us, and was calling him Leo, as in Julio, Leo, which they have some relationship.
Right.
He's obviously got a close relationship with Derrick Henry.
Right.
So he'll be a good locker room fit. There's not going to be any animosity or resentment. He'll blend right in. I think they're going to win the division even without him because it's not a very good division.
Oh, yeah. They
unless
definitely.
you think Carson Wentz is going to turn back to walk it in.
Well, he's gonna have to play out of his mind because Tennessee is. The question that I have for Tennessee, Skip, they had the 4th worst pass defense in football. So how much better have they got? They signed Bud Dupree. They signed Jack Rabbit. Now they let Dory Jackson go.
They did.
They let Malcolm Butler go. Jadavian Clowney didn't give them anything. The kid they got from Vic Beasley didn't give them anything.
Nope.
So how much better are they going to be defensively? I'm not worried about their offense because offensively they were good last year. And they just couldn't stop anybody.
Unless, of course, Tim Tebow's team steals the division. You never know. He's capable.
Tim Tebow ain't stealing anything. He better hope he can steal some playing
Did you
time.
just say Tim Tebow's team?
Yeah. You see what he
ownership of that
Or
team?
maybe he can steal a roster spot. Let's hope he can steal a
I
roster
think
spot.
we are
Let's
far
start with
from
that
it
first.
being Tebow's team. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm not going to let that one slip. Skip. Come on. Well, the Titans tweeted out a picture of Julio touching down. It is official. He has moved on. So that'll be fun to watch as it plays out for us. We got to go back to this, guys. How impressive was Chad Johnson's boxing debut at age 43? I know, Shannon, you said you really wanted to see him. I can't wait to hear what you guys both think. Next.
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy, and I won't back down.
At Jiffy Lube, it's our job to make car care make sense. With personalized service reviews that swap the car talk for straight talk, so you know what your car is telling you and what to do about it. Putting you in the driver's seat of car care, that's a job for Jiffy.
Are you tired of clean clothes that just don't smell clean? What if your clothes could stay fresh for weeks? Now they can. Downy Unstoppable's in-wash scent boosters keep your laundry smelling fresh way longer than detergent alone. Pour a cap of Downy Unstoppables into your washing machine before each load and enjoy fresher smelling laundry. With 6 times the freshness ingredients, Downy Unstoppables gives you more of what you love. If you want laundry to smell fresh for weeks, make sure you have Downy Unstoppables in-wash scent boosters.
Finding new routes to reach your customers and new ways for them to reach you is what business is all about. It's what the United States Postal Service has always been about. So as your business changes, we're changing with it. With e-commerce that runs at the speed of now. Next day and 2-day shipping nationwide. Same-day shipping across town. Returns right from the doorstep. And deliveries 7 days a week. It's a whole new world out there. Let's not keep it waiting.
Magic is calling you to the Walt Disney World 50th Anniversary celebration beginning October 1st.
beach has always been there for us. So it's time we were there for it. That's why Corona's helping clean beaches across the U.S. this summer. It's the first step in our fight against plastic pollution.
At Panera, we take care of dinner time. We use fresh, clean ingredients to make mouth-watering masterpieces. Order on the Panera app and get free delivery through June 13th. Only at Panera.
If the peanut butter in a Reese's could talk to the chocolate, what would it say? You complete me. Should we start a podcast? Who does your riches?
How to make a rock star. Start them young. Let them fail. And be there when they do. Believe in their dreams. The more wild and absurd, the better. Because bringing out the best of them takes the very best of us.
I am seeing what everybody else is not, and here we go.
It's baseball night in America. Arenado in the car. Clash with Bryant and the rival Cubs. Game 4. The Giants take on the Nationals. Baseball night in America. Saturday at 7 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
Time for our trending story brought to you by the all-new Kia Sorento, the world's first storytelling machine. Six-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Chad Johnson made his boxing debut yesterday against Brian Maxwell in an exhibition fight. Johnson got knocked down in the final round but was able to get back to his feet to finish the fight. So, Shannon, please give Chad Johnson a letter grade for me.
Skip, I went to bed last night saying, you know what, I think Chad deserves an A. But
Really?
I'm gonna give him a B plus. Because I thought up until that he had acquitted himself very well, Skip, up until that point. And the one thing they teach you in boxing is you don't go straight back and you always keep your hands up. Even the referee, the last word that he gives you, Skip, keep your hands up at all times.
Defend yourself at all times. Yep.
And so Chad goes straight back. He has his hands down because he's starting to get tired. And if anybody's ever boxed, you know how hard it is to keep your hands up in that position. 3 minutes is a man. People say, man, 3 minutes. 3 minutes is a long time.
They were only 2 minutes.
But Skip, and
wearing them both out.
and the 1 minute rest is not nearly enough after throwing those punches. But Skip, he got a good shot. He understood the fundamentals of boxing. Considering he's only been at this for about 6 weeks, he was shooting the jab. He was trying to, land the overhand. And this guy was a bare knuckles fighter, even though he didn't have any success.
No.
He did MMA, but he was a fighter. So it wasn't like Chad was just fighting some guy that's like, they picked him up off the street and said, hey, come, we got a couple of dollars for you. Come get in the ring, Chad Johnson. No. So I thought Chad, he did very, very well. And I thought he acquitted himself very well. I gave him a B plus. It was entertaining. He got some good quality shots in. And had he not gotten knocked down, who knows? He might have even won the fight, Skip.
Maybe.
But I gave him a B plus for that performance.
I love Chad Johnson. I still like to call him Ocho Cinco. It just fits him.
Yes.
I'm going to go A minus just for having the guts to try it.
Yeah.
He said as soon as it was over to everybody watching, you got to have the courage to fail. And Chad's got a long bucket list, and he keeps trying this and that and the other. He's tried bull riding, soccer.
I did. I failed the
WWE.
Q lit in high school. I'm good. That's the last fail y'all want on my resume.
Okay. Well,
I ain't getting knocked upside my head, Skip, to fail.
He's tried a little bit of everything.
Bull
Dancing
riding?
with the Stars, yep. And he's created apps for phones. He's tried a lot of things.
Right.
And I first got to know Chad in 2009 when we started going back and forth sparring on Twitter. And one thing led to the next. And early that season, before game number 1, it was back on September 8th of 2009. It was the day after Labor Day. We actually took First Take on the road for the first time. Our longtime fans might remember this, so that I could go face-to-face, head-to-head with Chad Ochocinco in the visitors' locker room on their day off in that Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati. And Marvin Lewis stormed in during one of the commercials and was furious that Chad was doing this on the week before their opener.
Right.
And yet it was Chad, because he was going to have the guts to take me on face-to-face.
Right.
Now, he does love the attention,
Right.
but I went hard at him. And in our A block of that show, he got some tears in his eyes fighting back.
Right.
He defended himself very well. And of course, we got to know each other. We became friends off that.
Right.
And then I've been on TV with him numerous times, and he's great to have on television. But he's actually, to me, more of a lover than a fighter.
Right.
He's not naturally a fighter. I know he's had his off-the-field issues. Got it. But the point is that I don't think he has it in his heart to be a brawler. It just doesn't come across that way. So he worked hard at trying to figure. He went southpaw, obviously.
Right.
And his jab with his right was pretty good.
Right.
And he was actually doing some damage with it. Now, just to keep this in perspective, he was fighting the immortal Brian Maxwell, who was 0-3 as a bare knuckle fighter, who was 2-3 as an MMA fighter, and 0-1 as a professional boxer, having lost to the immortal Gaspard Pierre at the DoubleTree near the airport in Miami. That's where this guy had come from, and he idolized Chad Johnson. He grew up in Miami, idolizing Chad.
Right.
So again, was his heart in it to try to put him down? Well, yeah, maybe.
Because at the end of the day, Skip, you look, he is a fighter.
Yeah.
And the last thing that you want to do is lose to a non-fighter.
No.
It's just like anything, Skip. I mean, you know, if I'm a basketball player, I'm not trying. I don't care how good an athlete you are in your sport. I'm not trying to lose to you in my sport. If I'm a football player, Skip, I'm not trying to have LeBron James out there come catch a pass on me or beat me. But I don't give a damn who he is in his sport. No, that's not going to happen. So even though that guy doesn't have the credentials of a Floyd Mayweather or a Thurman or one of the Bud Crawford, but he is a fighter. He's fought before.
He has.
You know, he get knocked out in bare knuckles. I don't know how much, Skip, that's street fighting. That's basically street fighting, sanctioned street fighting. So, and he's been in MMA. So he is a fighter. And although he idolized, he looks up to Chad, yeah, I ain't trying to lose to you, bro.
Yep. So I believe Chad was, quote unquote, winning a fight that was going to have no score.
You're right.
Until the fourth round when he
got careless.
He got a little careless, and he lost his focus for a second, and he got rocked.
Right. And what happens?
And
Skip?
dropped.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah.
When you start to get tired, you drop your hands, your jaw comes open because you got to breathe out your mouth instead of breathing out your nose.
Yep.
And then dude caught him. He popped right back up.
He did.
I give him that's better than what Nate did. Nate hopped up.
He did. I agree. Chad got stung.
Yeah.
Because he was a little wobbly from there on.
Right.
He was a little wobbly, and I give him high marks for just being able to finish the fight.
Right.
And his close friend Terrell Owens was ringside there for support. And I think Terrell was very proud of him for just hanging in there and finishing the fight.
Right.
But I don't want to see Chad box anymore, and I don't think he wants to box anymore.
Skip, I think the thing is once you do something and you realize how hard it is, you're like, oh, man, I did that. But I don't want to do that again.
Yep.
You know, with skydiving, skipping it, you know, like, man, what a rush. I ain't trying to do it again.
Well, you sky dove right into
the Bronco Stadium. I did.
I would not do it. I have a fear of heights. I couldn't even begin to look out of the plane and think I'm going to leap.
Well, Skip, when you get up there about 13,000, 14,000 feet, and all of a sudden that plane, and that door, they hit that door, and that door started to come over, and it's all right.
Well,
Sharpe, you ready?
I'd be clinging to that ripcord, right? Because it better work.
But I thought
Did you have somebody alongside?
Yeah, it was a tandem. It was a tandem. But Skip, I mean, it's still. I mean, you up there, you like. all the things that you're thinking that would go through your mind. Like you said, I hope this ripcord open. I hope the parachute. I hope they did this right because they packed their own chute.
I know.
So you don't trust anybody else. So I got to put all my faith in him.
You do.
But Chad Ochocinco, he did a great job, Skip.
Yeah.
I thought he acquitted himself very well. So somebody to take this up with 6 weeks' notice,
He did.
He didn't have any background. Now Brandon Marshall boxes all the time. I tell you another guy that Curtis Martin.
Yep. He's always been a boxer.
Yeah, he spars and everything.
Yeah.
He's still with that.
I mean, that's how he gets his exercise.
Right,
by
correct.
sparring.
But I thought Chad, even though, like I said, he got knocked down.
Yeah.
He popped right up, and he was like, but it's hard. Skip, you get a little woozy. It's just like you get dinged in football.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, let me get my bearings back. Hey. But
So,
this fight was more entertaining than the other fight.
I got it. So let me tie a bow on this by giving Chad one bouquet. To me, this took guts, but he became the greatest touchdown dance celebrator in the history of professional football.
Yep.
And I know T.O. was great, but Chad was so clever and creative. And my favorite was always the river dance.
river
It was
dance.
just so funny. It just made me laugh. We could see it again. That's just because it was at the height of the river dance popularity around the country. And he's doing the river dance in the end zone, and I mean, I fell on the floor.
He proposed. He was an entertainer. He was a showman.
He did a Tiger Woods putt.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's no question in my mind, Skip, that this was
Way to go, Chad.
This was more entertaining than the Floyd Mayweather fight. It had some action, and then guys, they were trying to land punches. He got a good. Hit jab, overhand, right. I'm like, okay, Floyd. Go ahead, old Joe. You doing it?
I, for one, was more entertained by Floyd because he was getting his butt pushed around the ring. So I enjoyed that he had to struggle.
Man, little Floyd. Come on, man. The man, 44 years old, man. He ain't been in the gym like that.
And then he referred to his opponent as a good little guy. He's a good little guy. Floyd, he weighs 50 more pounds than you do. Good little guy.
He does.
Not a little guy at all. Not a little guy at all. Okay, how impressive was the Clippers series comeback and Game 7 win? Skip, if you want to show us those shoes again, I'll give you a moment.
No, don't be those Jolly Ranchers.
There they are.
You don't need these Jolly Ranchers anymore.
On display. We talk about the Clippers next.
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy, and I won't back down.
Saturday and Sunday on Fox. Everyone's favorite competition is back with new breeds.
Who will be topped off?
In new digs.
Beautiful.
The Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show, presented by Purina Pro Plan. Saturday and Sunday on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
Bun, mayo, chicken pickle, bun.
Bun, pickle,
Blasphemy!
Ooh, it's naked.
The Naked Chicken Chalupa, only at Taco Bell.
John Tyson's motto was, "When better chickens are hatched, we will hatch them." It's why all of the Tyson chicken that bears his name is raised with no antibiotics ever. Every nugget, strip, and drumstick. Keep it real. Keep it Tyson.
At Jiffy Lube, it's our job to keep you moving. With a full range of services from oil changes and tire rotations to filters, wipers, and more, we've got what your car needs right when you need it, so you're ready for whatever's next. Putting you in the driver's seat of car care, that's a job for Jiffy.
Did you know you can go to libertymutual.com to customize your car insurance so you only pay for what you need?
Really? Okay, I'm on vibrate.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
With the Capital One Saver Card, you earn unlimited 4% cash back on dining out, 4% on entertainment, 4% on takeout and popular streaming, and now 3% at grocery stores. Earn unlimited cash back for going out or staying in with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
The new total support pouch from Hanes can help you achieve balance. Vista mesh panels for perfect separation and support. Secure, separated, supported. Find your balance. Vista new total support pouch from Hanes.
When I was your age, things were different. Getting Shiloh's food was never this easy. Mom's workout class was all the way downtown. I didn't get to design my own room. And now Dad thinks he's a big, fancy chef.
Wow. I wonder what it's gonna be like when I'm your age.
Shh. Before, they would have heard me taking the car.
Before, I didn't have an app to show me when she was taking the car.
Before, the chance of an SUV handling more like a hot hatch? None.
You won't know a world before electric.
Before it can change the world, it has to change yours. The all-new, all-electric Volkswagen ID4.
This is more than just a building. It's an AI-powered investment firm with billion-dollar views. A cutting-edge data security enterprise. Yes, with a slide. A perfect location for the world's first one-hour delivery. An inspiration for the next workout cup. And enough space for a pecan-based nutrition bar empire. It could happen. This is where dreams become brick and mortar. Find yours on LoopNet.
A lion! Ah, yes, the king of the jungle. Time for a Red Bull.
Red Bull? Still, you'll never be faster than a lion.
I don't have to be quicker than the lion, just faster than you. Red Bull gives you wings.
And I won't back down.
Well, how about this? Skip's Clippers won't be joining the Lakers with an early playoff exit thanks to 28 points from Kawhi and 22 from Paul George. The Clippers also shot an impressive 24 for 24 from the free throw line in the 126-111 win over the Mavericks to complete their series comeback after being down 2-0 and 3-2. They got it done. Fox Sports NBA analyst Steven Jackson is joining us now. Steven, I got to ask about this one. How surprised were you the Clippers came back to win Game 7?
Well, one thing about me, I'm a guy that's not surprised about when things happen in playoffs. Obviously, we be the one seed in the first round, so anything can happen. And it's about making adjustments. The Clippers made the best adjustments after Game 5. 6 and 7, they made a lot of adjustments. They were able to win the game. Dallas is not that talented. They have a Luka's great, but everybody else in their team is average. KP has really been playing average, even though he's a $100 million player. There's a lot of players making $100 million in the league that are not stars, that are not on the court, that don't show passion. So Luka was basically out there by himself the whole series, and he is great. But in order to win a series, you need more. You need your whole team. You need other players to step up. You can do that in regular season. You can't do that in the playoffs. Kudos and props to Ty Lue. He made some great adjustments, and the supporting cast from the Clippers team really stepped up in Game 6 and 7. So you got to give props to them for stepping up and stepping up to the challenge to get the job done.
Stack, you mentioned the adjustments. The adjustment that they made that late in the ball game, they said, we're going to get the ball out of Luka's hand. We're going to make his role players. We're going to make Hardaway Jr. We're going to make Finney Smith. We're going to make Kleber. We're going to make someone other than Luka beat us. And for whatever reason, Rick Carlisle seemed to be unwilling to do that in Game 6 because he let Kawhi operate one-on-one for the entirety of the fourth quarter, even though he saw Kawhi had it going. Okay, once I see a guy got it going, no, I'm going to get the ball out your hands. I'm going to make these other guys. And last night, the other guys did do it. Even though Kawhi had it going, you look at Marcus Morris, tied Steph Curry for the most made threes in a Game 7. You look at Reggie Jackson. Terrence Mann had 13 big points in the first half. Nicholas Batum was putting the ball on the floor, going to the rim, dunking it. I said, when did he turn into Dominique Wilkins? Luke Kennard had 3 DMPs stacks, and all of a sudden he comes in, hits 3 or 5 threes. And that's the difference in the ball game. You mentioned it. I know what Luka's going to give me. He gave me 35 and a half, 10.3, and 8 rebounds. I know that. Okay, what about the other guys? Yesterday, he and Finney Smith, 9 of 18 from 3. Everybody else not named Luka and Finney Smith, 1 of 18 from 3. You're not beating this team. The Clippers got back yesterday what they had been all year. They were the best three-point percentage shooting team. They proved that yesterday. They were the best free throw percentage shooting team
in history.
So they proved that.
In history.
So when you need, Stack, you know what I'm saying? When you need something, can I call on it? Well, they needed those threes yesterday. They needed that free throw percentage, and they were able to get it. So for me, it was all about the role players because I know Kawhi. Kawhi was sensational in this, with the exception of maybe one game skipped the fourth quarter. He missed a couple of shots, but he was sensational. Game 6, you won't find very many playoff performances better than Kawhi's Game 6. But Luka was toe for toe with it But Luka's supporting cast didn't give him the kind of backup singing that Kawhi's did.
Not at all.
Okay, back to my man, Steven Jackson, who makes a very profound point. Steven is saying he wasn't that impressed because the Clippers finally did what they should have done to start with.
Right.
Well, that was my point from the start. I was out of my mind sitting in this seat because they blew game 1 and they blew game 2 at home. The Clippers are the best team in the West. I told you this all year. Jeff Van Gundy kept saying they're the most talented team in the West. They're the deepest team in pro basketball to me. They're deeper than even the Nets are.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't play that way in games 1 and 2. And early in game 3 on that fateful Friday night, they fall behind 30-11 before a madhouse sellout crowd in Dallas as the Mavericks are making every three they look at. That they made 35 of 73s in the first 2 games at Staples, and then they go home and make 20 in game 3. No team in the history of this league has ever lost a home playoff game making 23s, but they did because the Clippers finally said, that's enough. Watch this. And it started with Kawhi, and Pandemic P went along for the ride. And he had some bad stretches, but he did whole lot of good stuff.
Right.
Because when it comes to making free throws, assisting the basketball, rebounding the basketball, he does a lot of dirty work for that team that is irreplaceable.
Especially last 2
because
games.
he is talented.
Yeah.
You can rip and slash him all you want. You can ridicule him. But even yesterday when he went 1 for 9 in the second half, if you look at the overall numbers, he made all 10 of his free throws and had 10 rebounds. 10 assists.
10 assists.
Right?
10 assists,
okay. Well, that's gold in a game 7. So in the end, these Clippers showed me some true grit I didn't think they had. They actually showed me some heart and some guts and some stamina I did not think they had, because the world ridicules them as the ugly stepchildren living down in the basement of Staples Center. Yet yesterday at Staples, I thought they turned into the Lakers, because everything that they did at the highest level during the regular season came to fruition yesterday.
Right.
They were the best three-point shooting team, and they outshot Dallas 20-10 from 3. That'll work.
Yeah.
And they're the best free-throw shooting team in the history of the league. And look what they did. They were plus 13 at the free throw line. Well, that's plus 43 points from 3 and free throws. That's who they are and what they did yesterday. So it wore me out. I'm still exhausted this morning from they're the most frustrating team to watch that I've ever tried to figure out. But in the end, they look like a team that can win it all, to me.
Stacks, let me
they found their identity. You know, it's never too late to have things start to click, Shannon and Skip. It's never too late. The playoffs, anything can happen. And when your team starts to click, the playoffs is the perfect time. I think they're starting to find their identity. I think guys are starting to find their roles when they're going to get their shots. But this is the perfect time. And with Ty Lue being a coach and a champion, he understands the adjustments you have to make round by round. It's a different level of basketball each round of basketball, and it doesn't matter how tough the first round was. When you get out of it, it's about round 2. Don't even worry about the first round.
Yep.
Stacks, how tall are you? 6'8"?
6'7" and a half, 6'8".
Okay, check this out. So if you're 6'7", and you got a 5'9" guy playing behind you, why the hell are you shooting threes? Why when you get on the block? Kristaps Porzingis is 7'3" tall. Kawhi, Batum, Paul George, Marcus Morris plays behind him, but he wants to hover around the three-point line. Get your tall butt down on the block and turn around and shoot over the top of them. Why was that so hard for him? They keep calling unicorn. There's nothing unique about Kristaps Porzingis. He's 7'3", and he plays like a 2 guard that's 6'3" that wants to shoot 3-pointers.
Yeah, 13,000 points is not a lot scored to some people, but to me it was a lot. And I wouldn't have had the success offensively. I wouldn't have had in my career if Steve Smith wouldn't have told me my third career. Yeah, my third year in my career. You can shoot threes, but you're gonna have to get on that block to be successful and have a successful career. And he told me that, and I was a 2 guard, so I was bigger than a lot of 2 guards at 6'8", Shannon.
Right.
So he's 7 foot. You gotta expose guys. You gotta take advantage of your size, and KP is definitely not doing that.
He's a big guy that plays small. That's the worst thing that you could have is a guy that's tall that plays small, because he's 7'3", They playing behind him. Nicholas Batum is playing behind him. Nick Batum has got to be 6'8". So he's giving up 6, 7 inches. And he's out there shooting, jacking up threes. He comes down on a fast break. Yeah.
He was dunking and diving just like a big man was supposed to.
Big Bobby outplayed him. Big Bobby don't play a whole lot. He only played mop-up minutes. And Bobby outplayed Porzingis. He ought to be ashamed of himself.
So is it possible that Kawhi Leonard truly is the best two-way player in basketball? Because he sure showed you that, especially in the last 2 games, right?
He played unbelievable.
Okay, look at the 7-game numbers. He shot 61% from the floor. That's impossibly great. He shot 43% from 3 over 7 games. He shot 90% from the free throw line. Those are numbers only Kareem has put up over a 7-game series. Only Kareem.
Wow.
Okay, and he took Luka when it was time to take Luka.
He was special, but the luxury that Kawhi had is that he still had a number 2 guy in Paul George. Now, Paul didn't play particularly well, especially the last 2 games, Skip. He shot terrible from the floor, 6 of 15, 5 of 15.
Yep.
But as you mentioned, he did other things, 13 rebounds Friday night, 10 assists yesterday. But his role players, see, Luka, Paul George could handle the ball. Reggie Jackson could handle the ball. Rondo came in and did some of the handling. So did PG. Who else besides Luka? And you know this, Stack. After a while, you start playing 40, 42, 45 minutes, and you always on the ball. You're the only one that can get them in and out of sets. It's going to take its toll on you, and it's starting to wear him down. They started to trap him. They started blitzing him, getting the ball out of his hands, and say, you know what? Let's see if Hardaway can make the shots in the 4th quarter that he made in the 1st quarter. Let's see if Kleber, let's see if he can have another game. Skip, you talked about that in the 1st game. Let's see if he can do that again. Let's see what Porzingis could do. And they couldn't. So, Luka, 37, 35, and Skip, I don't know if you noticed this, Luka Doncic has the highest scoring playoff average in NBA history. Higher than you know who. The guy that you call the GOAT. That's what Luka is right now, Stack Jack. The highest scoring playoff average in history.
All I know is
a lot of people not talk about, excuse me, Skip, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what a lot of people not saying is one thing I love about Kawhi that he understands. You're not going to stop nobody in the NBA. This why I consider myself a good defender. But you got to make it difficult.
Yes.
They're going to get their points. But if you make it difficult for them and wear them down, that's a great defender. Nobody's shutting nobody down in the NBA.
No.
You just got to make it difficult for them. And Kawhi gets that. He gets that. And that's what makes him a great defender.
Only Kawhi bothered him.
Yes,
he was the only guy.
he was.
Because he's so long and quick and shrewd that he'd get a hand up better.
But you know why he really bothered him, Stack? Because what did he do on Game 6 and Game 7? The pick and roll. Whoever Luka was guarding, he said, come here, bring me Luka.
He didn't switch.
Bring me Luka. No, because Kawhi ran the offense kept down the stretch in Game 6 and 7. But he wanted Luka in the pick and roll. He said, okay, you want to give it to me on the other end? Bring your ass out here and dance with me right now. Because I'm going to take some of that steam out of you. And every chance he got to put him in the pick and roll, no, I don't want to get him away from me. Bring me Luka. And he did. And I don't know why they didn't double it. Rick Carlisle blew this one, Stack, because you got to take that ball out. You got to take that ball out of Kawhi's hand. There's no way I'm letting the guy go 17 or 22. No, sir. That ain't about to happen.
Better player.
You can't not take the ball out of his hands and let him go one-on-one and still give up open shots.
Thank you.
You can't do that. If you take the ball out of his hands and give up open shots, or take away the open shots and let him go one-on-one. They gave him everything he wanted. He was able to drive and score and make plays for everybody.
Thank you.
That's why he was able to win the series.
I think you just made the case that Kawhi is a better all-around player than Luka.
Oh, yeah, no question. Luka ain't trying to play no defense. He can't play no defense.
No defense.
He can't play no defense. But he gonna punish you on the offensive end.
But all I know is by the end of the game yesterday, he was not winking and chuckling after shots because he was missing a lot.
But I think you know when they got respect for you. You see everybody waiting in line to shake his hand and hug him. You saw that Stack? Paul George waited on it.
Kawhi waited on it. Trying to trade jerseys.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Shannon, you know it's a lot. You know the saying, Luka, you invited to the barbecue? Nah, Luka's throwing his own barbecue and inviting the brothers there.
Exactly. He showed up, put pussy to everybody.
That's right.
All right, Steven, we actually do have to keep you around because you were at the Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul fight. I have so many questions about the atmosphere. So, yes, we're going to get your take next.
No mercy, no mercy.
All-Star Race, Sunday at 7:30 Eastern on FS1.
These are the people who work on the front lines. They need a network that's built right. That's why we created Verizon Frontline, the advanced networking technology for first responders. Built on America's most reliable network. Built for real interoperability and built for 5G. It's America's #1 network in public safety. Verizon Frontline, built right for first responders.
You know what's making Sarah's migraine worse?
Okay, let's table that.
But you know what gives her some relief? Using ZocDoc to book a video visit.
You'll get the prescription this afternoon. Does that work?
Yes. Oh. ZocDoc makes healthcare easy.
Oh, yeah, dude, that doesn't look good. I know what to do. I'm going to cashnetusa.com. I can apply minutes, and if approved, I can have the money as soon as the same business day.
Go to cashnetusa.com to apply for the money you need.
Yeah, we'll share our home address for french fries.
It's easy to be unsafe.
So I gave your birth date for free parking.
That's how I got this robe. Now it's easy to help protect yourself. Opt into cyber safety at Norton.com.
This is Theragun by Therabody, the percussive therapy device that has been the secret of professional trainers, weekend warriors, and all-star athletes looking to get to their next level. Visit Theragun.com. Change the way you move.
Visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the RDX.
Investing in startups gives you a chance to really build a company from the ground up. Growing up, I could have never imagined being a tech investor. It's a dream come true. I think everyone should be excited about Lucid because they've been a pioneer in the eyewear space. Lucid is ahead of the curve. I love eyewear Lucid because it's a real upgrade to my eyewear. Get involved now. I'm out.
Another beer or something different?
How about this super filling IPA? Son, you want a dark beer aged with goat's milk? Dark beer!
How about a Beeb and ginger highball?
Hungry for something hot and juicy?
Baby.
Breaded by hand?
Sounds steamy.
Nestled between two toasted buns?
Toasty.
The new hand-breaded chicken sandwich from Carl's Jr. and Hardee's.
Feed your happy.
The Bassmaster Classic begins Saturday morning on Fox and continues Sunday on FS1.
Logan Paul fight ended up going the distance, all 8 rounds with no knockdowns from either fighter. Paul is 6 inches taller and 35 pounds heavier, but the more experienced Mayweather was still...
To. He told Floyd his weight class is for a reason, and it showed last night. Floyd couldn't hurt him. Floyd couldn't put him down. And I give Logan Paul a lot of props, man, to go in there, to stand in there with Floyd and to do what he did because, you know, like I said earlier, Shannon, somebody got to hit me and make me fight. I got to fight of just instinct. I can't prepare and walk in the ring and work out to get ready to fight somebody. I'm a street fighter. Somebody got to just swing on me, and then I'll react. But for him to go out, even Chad, man, much props to Chad, too, man. Shout out to Chad Ochocinco. He went out there, man. On the shorts, he says, I am an athlete, and he is an athlete to be able to go out there and to go those rounds. So last night was a beautiful environment. I think Floyd is done. I think he don't need to fight no more because, you know, it was a good money grab for him, but I don't think it's going to happen again.
No. Because the thing, what Conor made it so good because, you know, like, okay, went 10 rounds, but he ended up knocking Conor McGregor out. Although that's not Conor's discipline. Conor was an MMA fighter. He did have a boxing background. In this situation, here's a guy that puts out YouTube video. And there is some damn good YouTube videos. But he's not a fighter.
He fought professionally one time
and he lost. He lost.
He can't stop. Another YouTuber.
Yes, another YouTuber beat him. And here's Floyd Mayweather, arguably the greatest fighter. He is the greatest fighter of his generation. You can make a case he's a top 5 fighter in the history of boxing. And I know he's older, but to not be able to put any effective punches, impactful punches on Logan Paul, I was like, really? And you're right, there's a weight class for a reason. And that's why you take your hat off to a guy like Roy Jones, Skip. He was a super middleweight that ended up winning the heavyweight title. Or these guys that, you know, guys that move up in weight class, they might start out at 112 and go all the way up to 154. And you're like, well, hold up, how did they do that? But for a guy, Floyd was in shape, but he wasn't in boxing shape, Stat. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a difference between being in shape. You and I in shape. But you're not in basketball shape. I'm not in football shape. I'm in shape for walking around looking good in clothes. You need to be able to... Logan Paul was in shape to fight. Now, although he was blown, Skip, after about the second round, he was out of gas. And that's what was surprising me.
He showed a lot of heart.
Yes.
He did.
Because, you know, the stats, when you get tired, that's when guys get knocked out. Your hands drop. He had his hands down by his side, and he started breathing out of his mouth. So now he did not biting on that mouthpiece. And so... I was surprised. I'm shocked. But like you said, to pick up a quick $20-30 million, but Floyd, let this go, man. Let it go. You don't need this. You above this.
So, Stephen, speaking of the atmosphere, you were ringside last night. There were a lot of boos that you could hear over the telecast, especially cascading at the end of the fight. Were they booing because Floyd couldn't even knock him down? Is that what was going on?
Well, it was more boos from Logan grabbing than anything. A lot of people was booing because he was grabbing, but they didn't understand this is a boxing match. You wouldn't go in there. You're going to do anything you can. If you in there, it's not getting knocked out, and that's part of boxing. Grabbing is a part of boxing. If you watch boxing, it's a professional boxing in championship fights that hold and grab to win fights. So
Roy Jones against Mike Tyson.
Yeah. So Logan did what he had to do to be successful in the fight and to stay in there all those rounds without getting knocked out. And anybody can say a lot of things, but you wasn't in that ring. He did what he had to do, man. I salute him.
So, look, I know you guys love you some Floyd Mayweather Jr. I respect him. And because I respect him so much as the greatest defensive fighter ever and one of the great punch throwers I've ever seen as far as accuracy goes. He was deadly accurate with his punching. Because of those two things, it hurt my eyes to watch him last night. Because even though they didn't, quote unquote, keep score, in the end it tarnished Floyd's legacy in my memory bank because I'm going to have to hang on to that. I can't unsee what I saw from Floyd last night. He looked like he was up in weight. You know, he used to fight at 147. I don't know. He might have come into this fight at 160-ish, somewhere in there. His face looked a little fuller, maybe because he had the full beard, but it just looked slightly heavy compared to what he used to look like when he was right. And I saw the interview pre-fight in which he said, hey, I'm retired as a boxer, but I haven't retired as an entertainer. And he then went in, I'm going to paraphrase this part, but he said, I'm trying to figure out whether I should knock him out early or let it go for a while. So clearly, he thought this was going to be a walk in the park. He thought it was going to be a joke. I thought it was going to be a joke, but I paid my $49.50 or whatever it was just to watch the circus happen because it entertains me if it's a joke. And it was the opposite of a joke because Floyd tried to rope-a-dope him in the second round, just kind of feel him out, let him wear himself out. And then in the third round, Floyd got stung a couple times, not hurt, but stung, and he got mad. And he started throwing the kitchen sink at this kid. And he was swinging and missing. He was flailing a lot, and it shocked me because I've never seen Floyd swing and miss as much as he did last night. And it's not like Logan Paul's a great defensive fighter, but he avoided.
He got no defense.
Well, but did he ever get tagged?
No, not enough to hurt him.
No, it didn't. So in the end, I kept waiting for the fusillade, that just the parade of punches that would put him down. And Floyd, I thought he did his damnedest to knock him down and out, and he could not. And Floyd said when it was over, "Hey, I'm not 21 anymore." And he was better than I thought. And I think Floyd sort of admitted, I shouldn't do this anymore.
No.
Right?
No.
He got that bag, though. He got that bag.
Yeah.
Well, he got the bag.
And I think that's the thing. But when you fighting guys like a YouTuber, but if you fight anybody with any type of experience, they, Floyd, that's why, and he made it abundantly clear. I'm not trying to deal with these young lions. The Earl Spence Juniors. You know what I'm saying? The Bud Crawford. I'm not trying to see these guys.
Well, guess what? Pacquiao still is.
Pacquiao must be still. He need the bag also. But I'll give Floyd this.
Earl's gonna finish him too. Earl gonna retire him too.
Hey, Stack. You know what? But I give Floyd this credit. He got $49 on some stuff I knew I shouldn't have watched, but I ended up watching it anyway. So that's pretty convincing to me.
Hey, if it ain't beneficial, it's artificial.
Yeah, but in the end, to Floyd, it wasn't worth it to embarrass himself, because I think he even thought
it was not Skip. We had high expectations.
Right.
Yeah.
High expectations. Floyd knew what he was doing. He knew it was a money grab. He knew what he was going up for. It was our expectations, and we were let down because we thought that one of the best fighters that we've ever seen that's gonna go in there and make it look real easy for a YouTuber. That's why I give Jake so much props. Floyd went in there with a whole different game plan, and it didn't plan out how he planned it.
Well, the biggest thing also, Stacks, is to knock somebody out, you got to take chances. And Floyd, as Floyd got older, he took less and less risk because he didn't want to subject himself to that. So he was like, he wasn't going to take any less, because even though the guy is not a boxer, he's 100, probably 200 pounds in the ring. He lands something on a 160-pound man, it's going to hurt. So Floyd's like, I'm not taking any unnecessary risk. Let me go get this bag. Y'all talk about me and say, okay, yeah, I didn't knock him out. I didn't hurt him. Good. But guess what? That money counter's still running. You know what it is.
Yes, sir. Run it up.
So Floyd can go buy, 5 more cars, maybe? He's got like 30.
Hold up, Skip. This is what y'all don't know. Floyd don't be buying those cars. That's a part of his rider. He get those in his purse. He don't be buying those cars. That's a part of his purse. He get the cars before he even start the fight.
Okay.
Yeah, let me run me one of them cars, Floyd.
Me too.
I'll take one while we're at it.
I done watched all his fights either in person or pay-per-view, Stack, so I should get something.
Yeah, you're a big supporter over there. All right, Steven, I love that you were there. Thank you for the insight. That was really interesting stuff. Guys, we'll check in with you again very soon, Steven. We are going back to the Clippers. Did their Game 7 win complete the greatest comeback in NBA history?
Really? Yep. Oh, my goodness.
That's
really?
Yep.
At Panera, we take care of dinner time. We use fresh, clean ingredients to make mouth-watering masterpieces. Order on the Panera app and get free delivery through June 13th. Only at Panera.
Our flight is early tomorrow, and it's a long flight, too. Once we get there, we'll meet up with you.
At Jiffy Lube, it's our job to make car care make sense. With personalized service reviews that swap the car talk for straight talk, so you know what your car is telling you and what to do about it. Putting you in the driver's seat of car care, that's a job for Jiffy.
Dogs don't know what's good for them. Like not being able to leave a good stick alone.
Hello!
Greenies, something better for your dog to chew on.
So then I said to him, you ought to customize your car insurance with Liberty Mutual, so you only pay for what you need. Hot dog or chicken? Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
You know what hurts?
Dad!
But you know what's painless? Using ZocDoc to find a dentist, podiatrist, and ophthalmologist. ZocDoc makes healthcare easy.
For those who love peanut butter, and those who want to get married to peanut butter, I now pronounce you weird. New Ultimate, it's here.
We need some help.
I know. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. And if approved, we can have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need.
I'm so ashamed I overpaid for this used car. I've decided to go undercover. Guess I picked the wrong used car site.
Remember, if you don't see me, you're not seeing the most accurate price. Shop at Carfax. You won't have to overpay on a used car again.
Hey, Bob.
Oh, my. Hey, Beth. How we feeling?
Good.
Yep. Moving.
Shop millions of great deals, all with a free Carfax report. Only at the all-new Carfax.com.
Honey latte.
What's the Wi-Fi password?
Oh, it's Hack Me.
It's easy to be unsafe.
Mom, what's your 401k number?
Now it's easy to help protect yourself. Opt into cyber safety at Norton.com.
At Panera, we take care of dinner time. We use fresh, clean ingredients to make mouth-watering masterpieces. Order on the Panera app and get free delivery through June 13th. Only at Panera.
This weekend, the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show is on Fox. On Saturday, it's the Masters Agility Championship beginning at 5 Eastern, then Sunday at 7. It's Best in Show. Catch it all on Fox and the Fox Sports app. I'm going to be hosting that one for the 5th year in a row, and you know I love the dogs. Looking forward to it. Guys, the Clippers became just the 5th team in NBA history to come back and win a series after losing the first 2 games at home. The Clippers also had to come back down 3-2 after dropping Game 5 at home as well. And in the pivotal Game 7 yesterday, Kawhi led the Clippers to victory with 28 points and just an assist shy of a triple-double. So, Shannon, got to ask the question, was this comeback the greatest in NBA history?
No, it's not even top 5. Skip, you know this. I mean, did we forget what the Cavaliers did to the Warriors in 2016?
Nope.
That was a 3-1. That was a 73-19. Do we remember what the Warriors did to OKC in the same playoffs? We've seen the the Houston Rockets come down from 3-1 to Phoenix, Skip. No. Boston Celtics come back from 3-1 against the Celtics. Boston came back 3-1 against the Sixers in 81. Skip, this is not even a top 5. I get it. It was great. It was great for the Clipper fans considering their history in Game 7s, considering that how many they had lost and what happened last year. But I get all of that. But Skip, this is not a top 5 moment in NBA history as far as comebacks. I remember the Nuggets came back against the Supersonics, who won 63 games that year. It was the best, if I'm not mistaken, it was the best of 5, and they were down 0-2 and they won 3 straight. So no, Skip, this is not even close. Not even close. Not even close. You can't even make that argument in good conscience.
I got a real good conscience right now because I'm about to make that argument and win that argument. And by the way, the architect of the 2 greatest comebacks, yours in 20. '16 and this one here was the same guy, Ty Lue, right?
Yep.
That's interesting to me. And by the way, after all the ridicule about, Doc Rivers, was he the scapegoat? Well, maybe it was a good change to go to Ty Lue.
Yeah,
maybe it brought a new voice to the locker room.
But Skip, you got to admit, Kawhi ain't played like this game 6 or 7 last year.
Okay. Well, did he need a new voice, a new motivation? Is Ty Lue actually the playoff Rondo that I thought playoff Rondo would be? Is it Ty Lue's leadership that got them home?
Maybe.
through the darkest nights. And again, Ty Lue kept saying exactly the right thing at every juncture in this series because he kept saying, look, I've been an underdog all my life. Remember, we were kind of getting on him a little bit for that there's no desperation, where there's no urgency, we're not panicking. Well, they didn't. So here's why this was the greatest comeback, unless you want to redefine it as the most unlikely comeback ever, the most improbable, the most impossible comeback ever, because you have to use your favorite word, context.
Okay.
Remember, they came off a series last year in the bubble in which they had Denver dead to rights down 3-1. They failed to close 3 straight closeout games in which they led by 19 and 14 and 12 points. So they had that hanging over their psyches going into this playoff run, right? And what do? They are heavily favored to win Game 1 and Game 2 at Staples. And what do? They just upchuck all over the floor. They are pathetic. They look like what Clippers are notoriously supposed to look like, a disaster. So, again, they're down 0-2 going to Dallas because Dallas had made 35 of 70 three-point shots. And Dallas goes home and makes 20 more, 20 of 39. So they're way above 50% for the series.
Right.
And what happens? They're up 30-11 in Game 3 at Dallas on a Friday night before a sellout throng that is crazed, featuring Dak Prescott in the first row and Michael Irvin up in one of the boxes. That crowd was on fire because the Mavericks were on fire. If I had called you at 30-11 Dallas, you would have been laughing at me because you'd have said, this thing is way over. Am I right?
Not in the first quarter.
Yes, you would have. You would have, because
the first quarter's
they've shown no signs of life. They're on the road against that team that have been very good at home this year.
Well, I saw LeBron come back. I saw LeBron come back from 73-49
but think of what these are. These are the Clippers, the ugly stepchildren in the basement at Staples. And now, at that point, they had lost 5 straight playoff games that they were supposed to win. They'd been favored 5 straight times, 3 against Denver and 2 against the Dallas Mavericks, and they had just gagged and choked all over the floor 5 straight times. And they had history weighing on their heads. And they're down 30-11, and I still don't know how they won Game 3.
Can I ask you a question? Has there ever been a team come back from 0-2 in the playoffs?
Well, sure, but not under these circumstances, not with the history of being the Clippers.
You know, Portland came back from 0-2 in the finals against the Sixers.
You're disallowing what I just told you. They had just blown 3 straight closeout games against Denver in the previous bubble.
I thought Ty Lue said this was a different team. You said they got a different voice in there.
Well, they sure didn't look like a different team after the first 2 games and after the first quarter of game number 3, right?
Skip, I don't think under any circumstances will someone says coming back from 0-2 is better than coming back from 3-1, and you're doing against a 73-9 team. And remind you, when the Warriors came back, they came back against KD and Russ.
Okay, so that night, Game 3 at Dallas, the Clippers got outscored by 21 points from the 3-point line. What usually happens when that happens? You just lose.
Right.
And somehow they chipped away and came back, and I don't know how they did it, but Kawhi was spectacular. Paul George was spectacular. All the role players, because they're the deepest team in the league, started to click.
Right.
And Marcus Morris made 3 huge threes, and all of a sudden they somehow survived Game 3. And they win Game 4 in the only blowout in the series. And then help me out. What happened when they came home for Game 5 when they were in control?
Right.
And the whole NBA world said, okay, you got this.
Right.
They don't got this.
Let's give them.
Okay, Kawhi stunk up the 4th quarter of Game 5, right?
Yeah.
And how does Game 5 end? With a Kawhi air ball from the corner to tie. He shoots an air ball, and Rondo shot right up to him and got in his face about it. And they went back and forth, and it looked like they had dissension in the ranks, right?
Well, Skip, it's hard for me. When you're down 3-1 to the defending champs, and you got Game 5 in their building, and you get 2 guys go for 41, Kyrie and LeBron, and then you come back Game 6, and LeBron does it again, and then Game 7, the greatest defensive player in NBA history. Would you? Hey, Jim, can you got that?
No, that was the bicycle.
No, no bicycle.
No, that was J.R. Smith started that play.
Don't do that, Skip. Do we have that play?
Yeah,
the greatest defensive player.
Watch J.R. J.R. did it first. J.R. got there first.
Where did he come from?
The pass.
Skip, where did he come
got
from?
Off for the pass. He was going to dunk it, and at the last second, because J.R. Smith got in the way, he had to go up and under, and LeBron had time to catch up. Way to go. LeBron got the assist on it. He actually got the cleanup.
What you call about to call and one? Iggy said and one and nothing.
Greatest defensive play ever.
Greatest.
It was a straight up ambush.
Greatest.
Ambush.
Skip.
Came from nowhere after JR had cut him off.
This is not a top 5 comeback in NBA.
Okay,
the first round.
Okay,
First of all, it's the first round.
Okay, I'm going to finish. So they lose Game 5 at home, and they are in the deepest hole because they have to go back to Dallas for Game 6. And I thought they were going to lose it. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They're down 4 going to the fourth quarter at Dallas, and they are cooked again. And what happened? Kawhi Leonard happened. He went 5 for 5 in the fourth quarter, 2 of 2 from 3. Scored 12 points, and by the way, Paul George scored 8 more points, and they won the fourth quarter, 31-20. That's impossible.
Think about this, Skip. You say they're going back for Game 6. They had just beat them. In Games 3 and 4 in Dallas. So how improbable would it have been for them to win Game 6?
Well, then how improbable was it to come back home where they blow Game 7s like clockwork?
Right.
And they come in yesterday, and Luka is hot from the start, and so is Tim Hardaway, or as I started calling him, Steph Hardaway, because he looked like Steph Hardaway. And all of a sudden, they get down 5 early in the third quarter, and they go on a 30-6 run. When they were down 5, I thought they were cooked again. They kept digging themselves out of hole after hole after hole against the greatest score. You've already made the case. No one has scored like this, the way Luka's scoring.
No.
Okay? So it took all of their guts and gumption and grit and backbone and heart and soul. It took it. They kept climbing out of holes because they're the Clippers. Again, the expectations were they were favored in every game, so they're expected to win, but they're also expected to collapse because they have a history of collapse. They have a history of being the second team in LA, the other team, right?
What about your Raptors with Kawhi? They was down 0-2 with an MVP, and they won 4 straight in the Eastern Conference Semis.
Where did they lose the 2?
They were on the road. Yes.
Yeah, they lost. Yes. These guys lost the first 2 at home.
And win 4 straight.
Okay, let's look at what happened in that fateful series when the Golden State Warriors were up 3-1 in 2016.
Yeah, what happened?
Your LeBrons. Draymond Green got suspended for Game 5. So don't give me it was full strength because he was the guts and the glue of that team. He was their enforcer, and he was trying to enforce so strongly that he got into it with LeBron James and yelled out as loud as he could yell, called him the B word. And Kiki Vandeweghe, who ran the discipline program for the NBA, heard it in the second row. And he said, well, that's enough because there'd been a kicking incident already in the previous round.
But Draymond had a history of kicking people.
Okay, he did.
Remember, he got Steven Adams.
He did it in the previous round of these playoffs.
Yes.
So he goes up the floor and gets tangled up with LeBron and kicks him in the midsection right in front of everybody's eyes.
Yes.
And something happened I thought I would never, ever see. The NBA suspended a starting player, a star, an all-star, for one of the 2 finals teams. Have you ever heard of that? I've never seen it happen before. You could fine him, but you can't suspend him.
When they did, who that came off the bench? Somebody came off the bench. Amari Stoudemire. They suspended him for the game. Was that Game 7?
Against San Antonio.
Yeah, San Antonio.
Yep.
So it's not. It was not.
But that was a blatant breaking of a rule. Well, it was blatant. You cannot leave the bench and step onto the floor.
Look what Robert Horry did.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that was blatant. This was not blatant. This was a judgment call on Draymond.
Okay,
right? So there's no Draymond, and they go home for a Game 5 in which they're down their guts and glue guys.
Okay, what about Game 6?
And what happened? Well, they won the game.
What about Game 6?
Well, that's back in Cleveland, and both LeBron and Kyrie go crazy.
Okay, so what about the series before? Golden State was down 3-1 against Russ. And
I don't care because we're talking about this one right now.
But I'm
you're
saying
this was the greatest ever.
No, I'm saying the one that you talk about, the Clippers against the Mavericks, is not top 5.
Okay, well, you're saying this is top 1, and I'm
yes, it is.
Okay,
because it's never been done before.
Okay, but what happened in Game 7 back at Oracle? Well, it was not so much about what LeBron and Kyrie did. It's what Steph didn't do. Look how pathetic he was.
If we're going to do that, I can say, well, what about Luka's supporting cast? What didn't they do? If we're going to make it about what teams didn't do, Couldn't we do that?
Okay, well, what about Steph's the MVP though?
Right.
Yes. So with you would expect Luka of this series, the Golden State.
But you told me Kawhi was the best player.
Okay, but no, we're talking about Steph. He was a two-time MVP.
Right.
He was a back-to-back
Right,
MVP.
and we came back and got it.
In games 4, 5, and 6. I'm sorry, 5, 6, and 7. He was a complete
We got it.
show.
Yes.
In Game 7 at Oakland, you won 93-89, and it was more about what Golden State could not do because Steph, in the fourth quarter of that game, went 1 for 6, 1 of 5 from 3, and had the crucial turnover when he threw it behind his back into the fifth row.
But I tell you what, you guys have been involved in one of the great comebacks. It just happened to you last year. The Nuggets walked you down 3-1.
Okay, that's why this was even greater. They were in a much deeper hole because of the home court.
But you told me last year didn't matter.
What do you mean last year didn't matter?
Last
Well,
year
it mattered now.
Because
you have to deal with the demons of last year.
The demons, huh?
Well, you just do. This was the most unlikely, impossible.
What about the demons LeBron had had?
Yeah.
Them demons that he had to overcome.
Well, he had a bunch of demons.
Okay.
2011 demons, 2010 demons.
So that's why it's the number one. Then I'm glad you said that.
2014 demons. Game 6, 2013 demons. Yep, he had a lot of demons.
It's not better than the Rockets. Skip, what about the Rockets when they came back against the Clippers? We just talked about this the other day. They were up 3-1. And they lost game, got blown. They was up 19 in game 6.
But those were all home court series where it stayed on home court.
You got home court series. You had home court. You had game 7 in your building.
I know, but they'd already lost 3 straight games at home.
Everybody.
It never happened before in the history of basketball. It never happened.
I can make a case. This is not even a top 10 come from behind.
You know what? The more you talk, the worse it gets.
Not even top 10. Not top 10,
You could just see on circumstances, on history, this was the most unlikely comeback in history.
Because it's the first round. I'm giving you series that happened in the finals, Eastern Conference Finals, NBA Finals. At least get the semifinals.
Did anybody expect your Cavaliers in 2016 to come back?
Yes.
Nobody.
I did.
Nobody.
Who came on your show and told you, said, come on, go with me. I'm driving the fire
truck. At the last second when I pushed you, as we were going off the air, you switched your pick back to Golden State. That's what happened. That's how much you believed.
I believed.
Nope, you did not.
I believed.
You said you wanted Golden State.
Anything is possible.
No.
Who was at the parade?
Kevin Garnett.
Who was at the parade? Who was at the parade in 2016?
Photobombing LeBron. It was you. Unless you photoshopped yourself
I was actually there. Me and Oak was at the parade.
I don't.
But Skip, this is not a top. This is not even close.
Yep. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in all my years watching the NBA back to 1976 when I covered the Lakers for the LA
Miami coming back from 0-2 against Dallas, Skip, down 13 with 4 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
To come back and win 4 straight. That's more impressive than this.
And by the way, speaking of the Lakers, I need to read the tweet that I tweeted immediately after the Clippers won Game 7 yesterday because it pertains to your Lakers. If I could, if we could show this, please. Okay. For those who said the Clippers tanked to avoid playing the Lakers, avoid playing them at what? Golf, tennis, lawn bowling, checkers. Enjoy your vacation, LeBrick.
I noticed how you tweeted that. After the series, you didn't tweet. No, I needed you to tweet that when they was down 0-2. I needed you to tweet that when they was down 3-2.
So you were the primary perpetrator of this nonsense, this garbage that you spilled all over this table.
True.
That the Clippers actually tanked to try to avoid the Lakers. They didn't. If they wanted the Lakers, they wanted them first. And the reason they did not play their stars down the stretch was what happened yesterday. Was Kawhi Leonard healthy yesterday? Was he looked like his gas tank was still full at the end of the game?
Utah Jazz, baby. Let's go, Jazz.
Yeah. I think they stuck it right to you.
Utah Jazz,
again,
baby.
You tried to motivate the Mavericks, as in they wanted you guys.
They did.
Yeah. You show them. And they showed them in the first 2 games.
I'm going to get me a Donovan Mitchell jersey.
Yeah. Well, you're going to need it because this series is going to be very different because there's no Luka in this series. There's no Porzingis in this series. There's no Hardaway Jr. shooting threes from in
You
mesquite.
you do realize Utah is the best 3-point shooting team,
Yeah,
right?
I got it. I got it. But the best percentage 3-point shooting team is this one.
And Donovan Mitchell, he might not be Luka, but he's plenty good enough.
He's plenty good enough. We'll see about that because they're going to have to also deal with the deepest, most talented team in the West.
It's not like you make it seem like Utah some bums.
Where are the Lakers now? Where's LeBron? On St. Kitts?
I mean, that's what happens when you have a short turnaround. So y'all got extra rest last year, remember? Y'all got put out in the second round.
Yep.
Got rest. So you were rested. You got an extra month.
Well,
that is fair.
Somebody's still playing at Staples. There's playoff fever at Staples. But it ain't Laker fever.
All I know is Lakers ain't have no cardboard cutouts. We don't have no cardboard cutouts in our
yes,
game.
You do. You have the very same crowd.
No, we don't. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Nope.
Yep.
So remind me, Skip, you said Clippers in 6. Shannon's going Utah in 7. Is that where we're at? Has anything changed?
Nope.
Okay, so that's where we're at. All right, this is going to be very interesting.
Let's
I'm
go,
curious. Your thoughts on this one? Are the Sixers in danger of being bounced by Trae Young and the Hawks? That is Do the Dance. Next.
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy, and I won't back down.
At Jiffy Lube, it's our job to keep you moving. With a full range of services from oil changes and tire rotations to filters, wipers, and more, we've got what your car needs right when you need it. So you're ready for whatever's next. Putting you in the driver's seat of car care, that's a job for Jiffy.
Another beer or something different?
How about this super filling IPA? You want a dark beer aged with goat's milk? Dark beer!
How about a beef and ginger highball? Excitement is building for the Girl Scout Thin Mints Blizzard exclusively at DQ. It's an iconic combo of pieces of Thin Mints cookies, Cool Mint, and world-famous DQ vanilla soft serve. Every bite is a sweet feat of ingenuity. Get it delivered at DQ.com.
New projects means new project managers. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Claim your $75 credit when you post your first job at Indeed.com/home.
Rated T for teen.
Maybe a little help over here. Nah, sorry, man. Not my turn. Dude, seriously. Turn-based combat. Look, man, you know how this works. You go, he goes, I go. Look at your feet, man. Your turn. Son of a... Nah, man, you good. Oh, let me take this. What's up, man?
Now it's your turn. Become the hero Teleria needs. Join over 50 million players. And play for free. Raid Shadow Legends.
The flat spin 360. Often imagined, rarely attempted. Accomplished. Just this once. The turbocharged Kia K5.
At Loan Depot, we know home means everything. We're at the ballpark, across the nation, and just down the street. Loan Depot, home purchase, home refinance, and the official mortgage provider of Major League Baseball.
This is pasteurized processed cheese food. It's only required to contain 51% cheese. This is a Sargento slice. It's the one that makes mouths water. That's 100% real natural cheese. Frankly, nothing else compares.
Sargento, we're real cheese people.
Someday. This isn't a friendly. This is Copa America. Sunday at 4:30 Eastern on Fox.
76ers. Game 1 yesterday, Atlanta jumped out to a 42-27 first quarter lead and was able to hold on for the 128-124 victory. Trey finished with 35 points, 10 assists. Embiid led the Sixers with 39. So, Shannon, how much trouble are the 76ers in?
Skip, I told you this. I said they're in big trouble. And we talking about, well, if Joel Embiid is healthy. I said, well, if Joel Embiid is unhealthy, they're losing the series. I said, even with a healthy series, this is going to be a long series. The Hawks are good. I don't know were they shocked the Knicks? No, they didn't shock. They weren't no shock. I told you the Hawks were going to beat the Knicks. Skip, they got guys that can score, they can shoot the ball. All of their guys can shoot with the exception of Capella. But what Capella does all the things. He rebounds, he sets good hard screens, and, he'll defend. So he does what he does. But when you talk about Trae Young and Bogdanovich and Werther and John Collins and Gallinari, all those guys can shoot the three ball. And again, what did they do very well yesterday, Skip? Shoot the three ball. Now, they're going to need this type of performance from Joel Embiid every single game because everybody is waiting for the Hawks to cool off. I wouldn't hold my breath. Now, I'm not saying they're going to make 20 threes, but they can make timely threes. And every time early in the fourth quarter that the Sixers would get close, Bogdan would hit one. Werther would hit one. Trae Young would hit one. This game really shouldn't have been that close, but it just goes to show you the Hawks, they're a very young team. They don't really have guys that's ever been in this situation. This is a Bogdan first playoff. This is Trae Young's first playoff. There are a lot of guys that hadn't been in this moment. And so they didn't handle the pressure situation very well. They won the game, but this is going to be a long series. In actuality, Skip, I would be less surprised if the Hawks won than if I saw Milwaukee beat the Nets.
So you want some of me on Hawks? You want to go? You stole game 1.
We didn't steal it.
Yeah.
We didn't steal it. We told you we were coming. It was on the schedule for like 3-4 days, so we didn't steal it. We didn't sneak up on you. Get you again.
I'll take the Sixers for 3 cases right now just to win the series. Yeah.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'm up. I got like 10 cases on the last 2 games.
You have not gotten 10 cases. You got 5. On one game where I just flipped around because I was sick and tired of my Clippers.
That's okay.
And I gave you back.
I'm about to get 3 more.
I'm only at 45.
And now I'm going to get, guess what? But this Utah series, I get it back. This Utah series, I'm going to get it back. Utah and Atlanta going to get me right back in the mix.
Okay, so what I saw yesterday was the Sixers came out flat in the first quarter. They did not take Trae Young as seriously as you have to take Trae Young. I think he's about 5'11". I call him Maestro. You call him Maestro.
Yeah.
But the point is that in the second half, they finally got serious with him. They just said, well, he's not going to beat us. And he couldn't. So what happened to Trae Young in the second half yesterday? He goes 3 of 10 from the floor. He goes only 0 of 1 from 3. They just wouldn't let him get a 3 up.
Right.
And he gets to the free throw line 0 times in the second half, and he's a minus 13 in the second half for a grand total of 10 points in the second half. Well, he torched him in the first half.
Yeah.
He was the reason that it was a crazy halftime deficit. It was embarrassing at halftime to give up that many. What was it?
74.
74 points.
Against a top-ranked defensive team.
This is the second best defensive team statistically in basketball. Interesting.
And they did that?
Okay. And in the second half, they looked like the second best defensive team. And in the fourth quarter, they definitely looked like it because they won the fourth quarter 41-29. And if they could have just gotten your old friend Danny Green to make a couple
I told you that's the Danny Green that I know.
Well,
that's the guy I've been looking for.
It's good Danny and it's bad Danny. It's hot Danny and it's really cold Danny. And yesterday it was really cold Danny because he took 4 threes and missed all 4 of them. And in the fourth quarter, he took 2 threes that were timely. They were game changers. They were roof rockers.
That would have broke their back.
They might have broken their back. And he missed both of those. And Tobias Harris missed a key one. And Maxey missed a couple of key ones. So the point was they almost got him. They almost did. But Bogdan finally just stepped up and said, I'm sick and tired of this. And he made a huge late 3. And then Herter made an impossibly great pass out of a double team in which he was stymied on the far baseline and threw it up court. And it resulted in it.
They got a clear path and the ball back.
Got the ball back. And that was the basketball game. But I think Philly's going to feel real good about itself, except for this. Even though you look at the numbers, the numbers are pretty good for Joel Embiid. What's he wind up with? 12 of 21. He makes 14 of 15 free throws as always. So he's 39 points and 9 rebounds. And he has 4 assists, and he blocks 3 shots. That's pretty good, right? Didn't look quite right to me because I know his game. I love him. I think he's the best big man in basketball. I think he's more valuable than Joker is. But the point is that he favors the right leg. He's got a tiny meniscus tear, cartilage tear in his right knee. And it's not the knee that was surgically repaired, but again, he gets the demons in his head about these little knick-knack injuries. And this isn't knick-knack, but they think they can muddle through with it. But he has to believe in his head it's okay. And there was one late where he came down a little awkward on the right leg, and it stung a little bit, and he's fretting coming up the court. I don't think he was quite right down the stretch. I don't think he was quite Embiid confident down the stretch. So that could do them in, but he still put up big enough numbers that even at, I'm going to call him 85% of Joel Embiid, that's good enough to overcome Capella and the Hawks.
And guess what? If worse come to worse, guess what we could do? Hacker Simmons.
Well, you could try.
3 of 10.
I know. It was terrible.
Hacker Simmons.
Yeah. So what do you got? Atlanta in 6?
I got Atlanta for 3 cases over you.
Yeah.
Probably 6.
6. I think it's going to take all of 7 games because I respect the Hawks because they have depth of shooting.
They can shoot it.
They have a whole bunch of shooters who can come at you from everywhere.
And Gallinari hadn't been playing well in these playoffs, Skippy. We know he can shoot the 3.
He can get going. And by the way, your favorite player, Solomon Hill, who sent LeBron packing, basically, he was pretty good yesterday.
He had a big 3.
Yep. And he plays hard, and he does a lot of the dirty work. I've never seen anything quite like how hard he plays as a veteran defensive stopper for them.
Yeah, we got this one.
So you got it?
Got this one.
You know what? All of a sudden, Trae Young is starting to believe his own hype.
Yeah, you know.
He's starting to jack up threes at an alarming rate because he was 4 of 11, but the damage all came in the first half. So he was, in the last 2 games against the Knicks, he was 7 of 25. And what did I tell you? I complimented him at the end of the regular season because the best thing he did this year was he cut back on, especially logo, threes. He dropped his threes per game from 10 a year ago to only 6 this past
He
regular
had a
season.
couple of poses too. You saw him shoot the long ones.
Yeah.
Shot a couple of them from Pittsburgh. Shot one from Erie. Yeah, way down there. One from North Jersey.
Did he?
Held it right there in front of the bench.
Okay.
And you saw Bogdan told him, I'm getting too loud up
he did
here.
that. I fear his threes more than Trae Young's. Trae Young better keep it down to a low roar and take 6 or 7
Don't worry
threes,
about that.
or you're going to be in trouble. I hope he jacks up 15 a game.
You better hope not, because he's just as apt to go 9 or 15 and shoot y'all right out the building. But y'all in trouble. Y'all are in a heap of trouble.
I'll do one case alone on game 2.
Nope.
If you want to do
Nope,
that.
I already got me 3.
You're good?
Philly cheesesteaks on you, Skip.
I don't eat Philly cheesesteaks, but you can.
Well, y'all about to eat something?
Even if it was a really, really good Philly cheesesteak,
No.
you wouldn't do it?
No.
Gotta live a little. I will eat
Neither
it
would
for
Shannon.
you. Yes, you would.
Man, I ain't had a cheesesteak in so long, Jenny. It might not be. It might not be the best in the
As
best
much as
interest
I
of my
want to
body.
hang out with you outside of work, you guys are no fun for food. I'm going to do that on my own. Despite losing, did Luka have one of the most impressive series performances ever? We're going to break it down. I'm curious, guys. Next.
When we heard there was money in our home,
We went looking for it.
well, you did.
I did.
When you need cash out of your home and a simple way to get it, Rocket can.
Can't make that. We're not afraid to be all that we are. No limit here to tell us to step on. We don't sit down and wish upon a star. Can feel our power raising up the bar. Can't hold me back.
Black Widow. I wonder if... It's safety first. That's what we always say at Geico.
never mind.
Okay, you got a plan?
We really should leave our insurance information.
Oh, you all right back there?
I'm okay. My mind was somewhere else.
Marvel Studios' Black Widow, coming to theaters.
Are you tired of clean clothes that just don't smell clean? What if your clothes could stay fresh for weeks? Now they can. Downy Unstoppable's in-wash scent boosters keep your laundry smelling fresh way longer than detergent alone. Pour a cap of Downy Unstoppables into your washing machine before each load and enjoy fresher smelling laundry. With 6 times the freshness ingredients, Downy Unstoppables gives you more of what you love. If you want laundry to smell fresh for weeks, make sure you have Downy Unstoppables in-wash scent boosters.
Hey, Google, turn up the heat.
Bun, mayo, chicken pickle, bun.
Bun, pickle, blasphemy!
Ooh, it's naked.
The Naked Chicken Chalupa, only at Taco Bell.
If Nathan Adrian hadn't forged his will in the fire of competition, he never would have had the courage to face his greatest obstacles. If he settled for winning 8 medals for his country, he never would have continued swimming despite a cancer diagnosis. And if he didn't push himself to train, even through treatment, he wouldn't be back on the world stage, fighting to win again. That's the fighting spirit. That's what makes a lion. Modelo, root for those with a fighting spirit.
Can these chef detectives uncover the mystery dessert without crumbling?
And they're just slightly terrified.
Crime Scene Kitchen, all new Wednesday after MasterChef on Fox.
Saturday and Sunday on Fox. Everyone's favorite competition is back with new breeds.
Who will be top dog?
And new digs.
Beautiful!
The Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show, presented by Purina Pro Plan. Saturday and Sunday on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
Tomorrow on FS1, one of baseball's best young players takes center stage as Juan Soto leads the Nationals against the Rays. It all starts at 6:30 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Luka Doncic did all he could to keep the Mavericks' playoff hopes alive in yesterday's Game 7. The 22-year-old guard dropped 46 points and added 14 assists in the 15-point loss. For the series, Luka averaged over 35 points, 10 assists, and nearly 8 rebounds. So, Shannon, give Luka a letter grade series.
Skip, had he won, I gave him an A, but I gave him a B++. I believe he was 1A or 1B. He and Kawhi, the best players on the court. And as Jenny mentioned, he created 77 points, which was the most ever in a Game 7. And that wasn't nearly enough. The other night, Skip, remember he had, 45 and 14. So he's doing it, not only is he scoring, but he's also facilitating and making plays for his other team. 36 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and that's what he did over a 7-game stretch. Luka just needed a few other guys to step up. Yesterday, the team was 1 of 18 outside of him and Dorian Finney-Smith. They were 9 of 18. Skip, you can't win. Tim Hardaway Jr. was 1 of 9. Porzingis was 0 for 5. And everybody keeps saying, Luka, just drive, just drive, just drive. But do you understand when he can't get a break and he has to do it all offensively for this team, It's the same reason you can't give Derrick Henry the ball 50 times a game, even though he averages 5 yards a carry. It's just too taxing. It's just too debilitating. If Brunson, if Trey Burke could have relieved some of that pressure and said, okay, give him a break. Skip, do you know when Luka on the court, they outscored the Clippers by 7, and they were minus 43 in the 55 minutes he was off the court? Let that sink in. He couldn't even get a blow. So I gave him a B++. He's special. He is a superstar. I'm not so sure after what I saw, he might be a top 5 player right now, Skip Bayless. But there's no question in my mind. He's definitely a top 10. But it's going to be hard pressed. Somebody's going to have to convince me with a Harvard law degree or John Jay law degree that he's not a top 5 player.
And you still call him Baby Bird?
Baby Bird.
As in Larry Bird Jr., as in your favorite player growing up, and we're seeing the reincarnation?
Give me another year or two, he might be my favorite player playing. Larry Bird 2.0.
Really?
Yeah.
You're saying LeBron's going to be gone in 2 years?
It might be my favorite player.
So, back to the question and the letter grade. I will give you this. I will give Luka an A for all of his 7 first halves. I'm going to give him an F for all of his second halves, his 7 second halves. So I will average that grade out to a C for the playoff series. Really, really. Let me back that up. First halves, Luka averaged 22.3 points per half in the first half. That's extraordinary. That's just unstoppable. He was scoring literally at will and at Kawhi and at PG and at Marcus and at Batum and name somebody. They even threw Reggie at him a couple times. Reggie Jackson, I'm just like covering my eyes.
Reggie Terrence, man, Rondo, everybody's
name him. But 22.3 a half in the first half fell 9 points to 13.4 in the second half. And that 13.4 got padded in games 6 and 7, especially when he got a bunch of garbage points late in those
give you
games.
6. I ain't going to give you 7.
What's that?
I said, I'll give you 6. He did get a couple of cheapers in game 6, a couple of layups at the end.
He also got them yesterday at the end when he did not deserve them. So what did we see happening in the first half? He went 20 of 39 from 3. He's not a very good 3. He's a career 33% three-point shooter. 33%. Well, he shot 51.3 in the first half alone in 7 games in the first halves. That's impossibly good. He drove me like completely out of my mind. I'm having to walk away from the TV. I can't watch it. It's like every 3 that left his hand, I'd say, that's good. And he was arcing them like 50 feet in the air. And then he was chuckling as he backpedaled up the court. Or sometimes he was flat out laughing as he backpedaled. Yesterday at one point, he winked at somebody in the crowd as he backpedaled, maybe at Mark Cuban. I don't know, like, I got this. He was in games 1, 2, and 3 trash talking like crazy. Not in my house. You're too little. I got this.
He was.
Right? And I kept saying, just wipe the smirk off his face, Clippers. Get mad at him. Somebody get mad. Somebody say, not in our house yesterday, and finally they said, not in our house. So now let's look at the three-point shooting in the second half. What happened? That's interesting. It plummeted to 11 of 37. Well, that's 29.7%. That's closer to who he really is. So his three-point shooting failed him in the second half, as did his free throw shooting, because in the first half of the 7 games, he shot 20 of 29. That'll work. That's 69%. That for him, that's pretty good.
Right.
In the second half, he was 7 of 22. That's 31%, which is abysmal.
Right.
And you're giving him a B++.
I give him a B++, Skip, because I think the thing is that you have to look at his PER compared to this game, this series, as opposed to the regular season. He's having the ball a lot more. He's having to do a lot more. And I'm not so sure, Skip, what might have hurt him is that because he gets it going in this first half, everybody else is standing around watching. And now when he needs them to make shots in the second half, can't nobody make shots.
So I dare even the Maverick fans to look closely at what happened yesterday in Game 7. Because your Mavericks seized control of that game with 6:53 left in the third. You had your biggest lead of the day. You were +5. You're up 5 points at 81-76. Over the next 9 minutes and 33 seconds, the Clippers roar back on a 30-6 run that puts them up 19 in the fourth quarter.
Right.
From up 5 to down 19. Right. Over that stretch, your man Luka was 2 of 7 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3, 0 of 2 from the free throw line, he just wasn't there. While Kawhi definitely, again, everybody started hitting shots for the Clippers, but Kawhi scored 11 in that stretch. Luka scored 4. And it was a 30-6 run that virtually put the game away for the Clippers.
But I get it. 36, you look at those numbers. But you look at what Kawhi got that Luka didn't get, which was help from the supporting cast. And in the Game 7, okay, if the stars neutralize each other, what am I going to get from my guys?
Well, they didn't neutralize. Kawhi just took the game over.
Skip, what do you mean? Hold on.
So I just showed you. That's 9 minutes and 33 seconds. Luka was really nowhere to be found.
So what am I going to do like Marcus Morris so you all of a sudden turn into Steph Curry?
Well, I'm just saying he was the guy, and he wasn't there. Kawhi was there, not Baby Bird. Maybe he's more like Baby Sparrow.
Luka got more points, rebounds, and assists than Kawhi.
I think B++
Believe in Baby Bird. Do the Nets title hopes hinge on how healthy James Harden is? This is good stuff. I want to hear your thoughts next.
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy, and I won't back down.
The new total support pouch from Hanes can help you achieve balance. Vista mesh panels for perfect separation and support. Secure. Separated. Supported. Find your balance with the new total support pouch from Hanes. So secure. I often forget I'm wearing underwear. I still am.
I wish I could wake up and say hi to a giraffe. Ride a train in the sky. And visit faraway galaxies.
Stay in the magic at a Disney Resort Hotel. So close to the parks, you can make all your Disney wishes come true. And now, you can save up to 25% on rooms at select Disney Resort hotels. Imagine the magic of staying here.
At Mark Valeriano was shook with the new Popeye sandwiches and more pack.
Oh my gosh, look at all
With 4 chicken sandwiches, 4 tenders, and a large side for $25, there's something for everyone.
Oh my God.
Oh, are you using Liberty Mutual's coverage customizer tool? So you only pay for what you need. Sorry? Liam, you're an animal.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
How will Rey Mysterio respond after Roman Reigns' vicious attack on his son Dominic? It's an all-new Friday Night SmackDown, live at 8 Eastern on Fox.
Giants take on the Nets. It is gone! Baseball Night in America, Saturday on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
Here you go. Let me help you.
Hi, Mr. Charles. We made you dinner.
Oh, thank you.
Ready to eat?
Yes, I am.
There's a lot of talk about getting back to the way things were. But what does that mean? For the folks who run with us, there is no going back because they've never stopped working towards a better tomorrow. Together, we run forward.
Taco night is heartburn you can plan for, but surprise pizza means heartburn you didn't expect. New Zantac 360 Degrees contains the #1 doctor-recommended medicine approved to both prevent and relieve heartburn and works in as little as 15 minutes. New Zantac 360.
At Jiffy Lube, it's our job to make car care make sense. With personalized service reviews that swap the car talk for straight talk, so you know what your car is telling you and what to do about it. Putting you in the driver's seat of car care, that's a job for Jiffy.
This summer,
Spend less time web surfing and more time surfing. Scan here for a chance to win a real vacation in this ad. Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzer. It's real as it tastes.
Our produce standards are more than a label. It's a promise that every fruit on your table was chosen by someone who thinks farmers rule and supported organic before it was cool. There's mighty high standards in that salad bowl because that's what makes us whole.
Welcome back. The Herd is coming up next right here on FS1. Let's head over check in with Colin. Hey, Colin, how's your weekend? What's on the show?
A lot of NBA and a pretty good Logan Paul fight. United States men's national team, all sorts of stuff. Gotta get Luka. Help, Mark Cuban. It's on you. And chemistry, health. Who needs chemistry and health? Frighteningly easy win for the Brooklyn Nets. That's coming up.
There were so many games, including this, guys. The Nets won Game 1 against the Bucks on Saturday, but will be without James Harden for Game 2 tonight. Right, hamstring tightness is what will keep Harden sidelined. And Steve Nash said of his star guard, quote, "We've got to see what happens, and only time will tell how he responds." So, Shannon, how far can the Nets go without James Harden?
Skip, I believe they can probably get out of the Eastern Conference, but I don't know if they can beat one of the three, especially if it's the Phoenix, Clippers, or Utah. I don't know if they can beat one of those three teams. Now, maybe they can beat the Nuggets without James Harden. I do believe they can get out of the Eastern Conference without James Harden because Kyrie and KD are playing out of their minds. But I don't know if they can win a title against one of those three teams without Harden.
I hope James can play, but it doesn't sound good.
It does.
Because it's the same hamstring that...
Right. They kept him out like a month and a half.
No. They were invincible with James.
Yes.
They can still win it without him, but they're just going to have to earn it now with those two stars.
Yep.
And Jeff Green's going to have to come back. Remember, he's been out with plantar fasciitis.
Right.
And now the pressure mounts on Blake and Joe Harris and Landry Shamet.
Right.
You can go right down the list. Mike James. They need all the role players to step up and play even bigger than they have been playing. They're deep enough. They can still win the East.
That's a great luxury to have. Got KD and Kyrie. They still can go get you 60, 70 between the two of them.
Frustrating that he's dealing with another injury. I hope that he's back very, very soon. We'll be all over that one. Undisputed is back at the same time tomorrow morning. The Herd with Colin and Joy is next. Have a great day, guys.
It is a lively Monday, live in Los Angeles. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. 1 hour from now, plenty of both, where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong on a Monday. I got to tell you something, but between NBA basketball, between the Logan Paul fight with Mayweather, between the United States men's national team, what a crazy Sunday. That soccer match was nuts, and people throwing water bottles at our guys. That was nuts.
I didn't see all the people talking about how they shouldn't be throwing water bottles. It's not a big deal last night. They're doing the souvenir cups. My goodness, it got out of hand. But that was a great sports weekend.
Oh, it was a great Sunday and a great sports weekend. And such a pleasure to have you and lots of choices out there. Well, the Clippers won. They're a strange franchise. This was a strange series. And their superstar is a strange guy. First time ever, both teams lost all their home games for the first 6 games, and then the champ of the series wins the home game, Game 7. And I'm still not sure if I like the Clippers. Love Kawhi when he's engaged. Friday, he was LeBron-esque. 45 points, 18 of 25 shooting in an NBA playoff game. Sunday, he was near perfect, 28, 10, and 9. If you go to games 6 and 7, I mean, this is LeBron in his prime. Kawhi shot 100% from the free throw line, 50% on threes, and 70% from the field, and was the top defender, guarded Luka. That is LeBron in his prime. But my takeaway is, why did it take this long? The Clippers won 47 games in the regular season, and that's with Kawhi missing 20 and Paul George missing, 18? They were the much better team. Their coach, And, the Clippers had won a championship, and their bench is better, and their star is a veteran star, and their number 2 is better, and they're deeper. And this went 7. I know Clipper fans want to throw a parade today, but because this series went 7, you have to face Utah and Utah tomorrow. And you're going to lose that. You're going to be digging yourself out of another hole. Kawhi Leonard, we all know this. He started, it got termed once he did it, load management, where you're not quite sure if the body's right. He takes 20 games off a year in his prime. Like, this is his prime. This isn't LeBron in year 18. This is his prime. But Kawhi also appears to take load management games mentally when he plays, but he's just kind of drifting around, and he's giving you about 65, 70%. He wasn't guarding Luka for the first several games in this series. Didn't LeBron always just embrace that challenge and say, D-Wade embrace that challenge? The greats embrace that challenge, the Kevin Garnetts. He's just an interesting cat. So this morning I wake up and my question is, do I like the Clippers? No, I just like Kawhi when he's completely engaged. He is the best get a basket and get a stop guy in the NBA. There's no doubt. I've been saying that for years. You need to stop, he's it. You need a basket, he's it. But remember, as your Clipper parade is working its way down Main Street, they lost in the second round last year. And if they lose against Utah, this is a deep, talented Utah team with home court advantage, great coach. They shoot 3-point. Unlike Dallas, Utah plays defense. Unlike Dallas, a lot of these stars, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, they've been around a long time. Now Utah does not have a matchup for Kawhi, so he has got to be engaged. Game 1, because this team is much better than Dallas. They've got more star power, more than one guy who can hit a 3. Luka was exhausted by the fourth quarter in most of these games. But this morning, my question is, do I like the Clippers? Not really. I think it's a strange franchise. It was a bizarre series. It was totally fitting, and Kawhi's a different cat. And we are still, as a Clipper fan, you're still not out of the woods. They lost round 2 last year, and they got rid of Trez, and they fired Doc. And if they lose round 2 of this year, trust me, kabloom is still around the corner. So I want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. I didn't know what I should do with my second story today, but I want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets because they're fascinating. So there's 4 or 5 things we know to be true historically in the NBA that you need. We know this. This isn't an argument. Generally, like to win an NBA championship, you got to have good chemistry. It helps if your coach has coached in the playoffs before. Health is key. How many teams have we seen upended, unravel because of health? And the other thing is, you got to be a top 15 team defensively, or you cannot win a championship. It's just the way it works. In fact, only one team's been out of the top 15 defensively in 30 years, won a title. That was the Shaq Kobe team. And they were actually number 1 in the playoffs defensively, but they were so good and so dominant, they kind of mailed it in defensively in the regular season. So these are the years to have a profitable year at Tesla. But every time you look at Tesla stock, you're like, yeah, it's great. It's been on fire for 4 years. They do everything wrong. But they have a brilliant guy, crazy town, but a brilliant guy running the company, and that is Brooklyn. They don't play really good defense. They don't have their health. They don't have their chemistry. Their coach has no experience. Milwaukee has all that, and they fly through it. And my takeaway is, the message that sends to Damian Lillard, to Zion, to Luka, to a young Ja Morant is Don't waste your time. Go hook up with A's. Damian Lillard. I mean, that you're going to keep carrying B and C players? I mean, Zion. I mean, I like Lonzo Ball too, but Brooklyn's messaging is you don't have to have the perfect coach, the perfect chemistry. You can take games off. You don't even have to be healthy. There's a reason we send an all-star team to the Olympics. There's a reason AAU basketball is essentially in Atlanta, Detroit, Seattle, Dallas, Philadelphia. All the best players play on one or two teams. It's just easier. You don't have to have perfect chemistry in AAU. By the way, Kentucky's one of the winningest programs. They don't even have a senior night, just a revolving door of one-year players, and they win a bunch of games. So the basketball culture in America, the message if Brooklyn wins is chemistry, health, coaching, defense. Just go team up with really, really great players. And we've always kind of known that. But increasingly, you know, with the draft, such a crapshoot because you have no film on these kids. They're all 18 years old. I look around, and even Giannis in Milwaukee. So who's the best player in Milwaukee? Giannis. Well, he was great. Chris Middleton, 0 for 5 on threes. Chris Middleton's a B. You're trying to sell me as an A. And Chris Middleton didn't show up in game one. KD did. Kyrie did. The former A, Blake Griffin did. Giannis did. I mean, I'm telling you, I watched Brooklyn, and my takeaway was, God, everything that matters doesn't matter when you have that much talent. It's Tesla. They do everything wrong. Stock's still going through the roof. Maybe it's a bubble. Maybe it implodes. But that was discouraging if you're Milwaukee. If Harden is out for game 2, if Milwaukee loses game 2 with the veteran coach, and with the system, and the defense, and the chemistry, and the health, like series over. Like that, I'm not sure, even if you go home, I'm not sure you overcome that. All right, we've got a lot of stuff going on. Calling right, calling wrong in 1 hour. Julio Jones moves. Boy, it's amazing. We never learn. Every time a big star free agent moves, everybody goes crazy. Everybody goes crazy. Julio Jones. He's not going to win a game for Tennessee.
With Grammarly, you can...
Oh, damn! Kawhi Leonard, game 6 and 7, showed up and said, yo, I'm still here in LA. I'm still here. And as a result, so are the Clippers. I see y'all. I see y'all. First takes in the house. Week is over. You know what time it is.
There's pressure in every playoff game that a player plays. But Game 7 seems different.
I've been saving my guap, man, ain't saving no shit. Put out my but I pick up a stick.
Puts it in. Luka Doncic, red hot to start Game 7.
Don't have to test me, I don't like the waiting. That's why I'm impatient, I don't like
There's Leonard on the drive and the finish. Kawhi Leonard. Everything going Leonard in the Clippers' way. I mean, we just fought hard. We never gave up. A huge turnaround for the LA Clippers.
They pushed us. We stuck in there. We hung in there. We played for one another. On to the next.
Good day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karen Rose. Fellas, it was a huge weekend in sports, not just NBA playoffs. I feel like every sport, we have a story for you, and we are going to cover all of it. So let's get after it. We start with Game 7. So despite a record-breaking performance by Luka Doncic, who scored or assisted on 77 against the Clippers, the most in NBA history by a player in a Game 7, it wasn't enough. Kawhi, Paul George, Marcus Morris, total team effort to clinch the series, a 15-point game win at Staples, and the Clips now move on to the Western Conference semis. They'll face Donovan Mitchell in the Jazz. Kawhi putting in that work, not just on the court, in the film room, too.
We watch film, and, we seen that we were leaving each other on islands, mainly on the defensive end. Nobody's really selfish on the offensive end on this team. That's up to me and PG and playmakers on the offensive end not to be selfish, because at times you feel like you got to do it all. But, these games aren't won with just one or two great players. You need a whole 17 or 16 players that you have, guys on the bench clapping, letting you know what's going on, and, the rotation players. So, I think we had trust at the beginning, but we just had to dial in on what we were doing.
What do you think you've been able to prove in this series and even last year in the playoffs?
Nothing yet. We've been in the playoffs twice since I'm there. We lost both times, so nothing yet. You get paid to win, so we can do it.
All right, I told you about Luka. Let's talk Kawhi. He became the first player since Shaq in 2000 to score 30 points per game on 60% shooting in a single playoff series. What's even more impressive, his average shot distance was over 13 feet. Shaq's under 5. Stephen A.
Mm-hmm.
Are you confident in Kawhi and PG-13, that duo now?
Hell no. I mean, I congratulate them on getting past the first round. They handled their business. I had my reservations at first. I thought they were going. I picked them to win the series at the start of the series, Max. Then I thought they were going to get swept after losing the first two in L.A. Props to them. They came back, but then they go back to Los Angeles and they lose Game 5.
Yeah, the Mavs are supposed to be done winning.
They're giving up 40 to Luka, and then they're going back to Dallas in Game 6, which I thought they would win. I thought they would win Game 6 and then be typical Clippers and lose in Game 7 because of the way the series had gone. But props to Kawhi Leonard for showing up, showing out, handling his business, reminding us the superstar talent that he is. Major, major props. And props to Paul George as well. Averaged 23 a game in this series. Shot better than 46% from the field in this series. He handled his business as well. Marcus Morris came up big time yesterday with some big time shots. I give him a lot of credit along with Reggie Jackson. But with all due respect, the Dallas Mavericks might have Luka, but they ain't the Jazz. That's the next team. Top 4 offensively, averaging better than 116 points per game. Top 3 defensively, yielding about 107 a game. In their first round playoff series against the Utah Jazz, they got not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 dudes averaging at least 17 a game. They got elite perimeters defenders like Conley and Roy.
I know what this place is.
Oh, damn! Kawhi Leonard, Game 6 and 7, showed up and said, yo, I'm still here in L.A. I'm still here. And as a result, so are the Clippers. I see y'all. I see y'all. First takes in the house. Week is over. You know what time it is.
There's pressure in every playoff game that a player plays, but Game 7 seems different. Puts it in. Luka Doncic, red hot to start Game 7. There's Leonard on the drive and the finish. Kawhi Leonard. Everything going Leonard and the Clippers' way.
I mean, we just fought hard. We never gave
a huge turnaround for the LA Clippers.
They pushed us. We stuck in there. We hung in there. We played for one another. On to the next.
Good day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karen Rose Fells. It was a huge weekend in sports, not just NBA playoffs. I feel like every sport, we have a story for you, and we are going to cover all of it. So let's get after it. We start with Game 7. So despite a record-breaking performance by Luka Doncic, who scored or assisted on 77 against the Clippers, the most in NBA history by a player in a Game 7, it wasn't enough. Kawhi, Paul George, Marcus Morris, total team effort to clinch the series, a 15-point game win at Staples, and the Clips now move on to the Western Conference semis. They'll face Donovan Mitchell in the Jazz. Kawhi putting in that work, not just on the court, in the film room, too.
We watch film, and, we seen that we're leaving each other on islands, mainly on the defensive end. Nobody's really selfish on the offensive end on this team. That's up to me and PG and playmakers on the offensive end not to be selfish, because at times you feel like you got to do it all. But, these games aren't won with just 1 or 2 great players. You need a whole 17 or 16 players that you have, guys on the bench clapping, letting you know what's going on, and, the rotation players. So, I think we had trust at the beginning, but we just had to dial in on what we were doing.
What do you think you've been able to prove in this series and even last year in the playoffs?
Nothing yet. We've been in the playoffs twice since I'm there. We lost both times, so nothing yet, you know. You get paid to win, so we can do it.
All right, I told you about Luka. Let's talk Kawhi. He became the first player since Shaq in 2000 to score 30 points per game on 60% shooting in a single playoff series. What's even more impressive, his average shot distance was over 13 feet. Shaq's under 5. Stephen A.
Mm-hmm.
Are you confident in Kawhi and PG-13, that duo now?
Hell no. I mean, I congratulate them on getting past the first round. They handled their business. I had my reservations at first. I thought they were going. I picked them to win the series at the start of the series, Max. Then I thought they were going to get swept after losing the first two in L.A. Props to them. They came back, but then they go back to Los Angeles and they lose Game 5.
Yeah, the Mavs were supposed to be done winning.
They're giving up 40 to Luka, and then they're going back to Dallas in Game 6, which I thought they would win. I thought they would win Game 6 and then be typical Clippers and lose in Game 7 because of the way the series had gone. But props to Kawhi Leonard for showing up, showing out, handling his business, reminding us the superstar talent that he is. Major, major props. And props to Paul George as well. Averaged 23 a game in this series, shot better than 46% from the field in this series. He handled his business as well. Marcus Morris came up big time yesterday with some big time shots. I give him a lot of credit along with Reggie Jackson. But with all due respect, the Dallas Mavericks might have Luka, but they ain't the Jazz. That's the next team. Top 4 offensively, averaging better than 116 points per game. Top 3 defensively, yielding about 107 a game. In their first round playoff series against the Utah Jazz, they got not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 dudes averaging at least 17 a game. They got elite perimeters, defenders like Conley and Royce. Oh, damn. Kawhi Leonard, Game 6 and 7, showed up and said, yo, I'm still here in L.A. I'm still here. And as a result, so are the Clippers. I see y'all. I see y'all. First takes in the house. Week is over. You know what time it is.
There's pressure in every playoff game that a player plays, but Game 7 seems different.
I've been saving my guap, ain't saving no shit. Put out my but I put up a stick.
Puts it in. Luka Doncic, red hot to start Game 7.
Don't have to test me, I don't like the waiting. That's why I'm impatient, I don't like
There's Leonard on the drive and the finish. Kawhi Leonard. Everything going Leonard and the Clippers' way. I mean, we just fought hard. We never gave up. A huge turnaround for the LA Clippers.
They pushed us. We stuck in there. We hung in there. We played for one another. On to the next.
Good day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karen Rose Fells. It was a huge weekend in sports, not just NBA playoffs. I feel like every sport, we have a story for you, and we are going to cover all of it. So let's get after it. We start with Game 7. So despite a record-breaking performance by Luka Doncic, who scored or assisted on 77 against the Clippers, the most in NBA history by a player in a Game 7, it wasn't enough. Kawhi, Paul George, Marcus Morris, total team effort to clinch the series, a 15-point game win at Staples, and the Clips now move on to the Western Conference semis. They'll face Donovan Mitchell in the Jazz. Kawhi putting in that work, not just on the court, in the film room, too.
We watch film, and, we seen that we're leaving each other on islands, mainly on the defensive end. Nobody's really selfish on the offensive end on this team. That's up to me and PG. And
damn! Kawhi Leonard, Game 6 and 7, showed up and said, yo, I'm still here in L.A. I'm still here. And as a result, damn! Kawhi Leonard, Game 6 and 7, showed up and said, yo, I'm still here in L.A. I'm still here. And as a result, so are the Clippers. I see y'all. I see y'all. First takes in the house. Week is over. You know what time it is.
There's pressure in every playoff game that a player plays, but Game 7 seems different.
I've been saving my guap, ain't saving no shit. Put out my but I put up a stick.
Puts Puts it in. Luka Doncic red hot to start Game 7.
Don't have to chase me, I don't like the waiting. That's why I'm impatient, I don't like.
Here's Leonard on the drive and the finish. Kawhi Leonard. Everything going Leonard and the Clippers' way.
I mean, we just fought hard. We never gave up.
A huge turnaround for the LA Clippers.
They pushed us. We stuck in there. We hung in there. We played for one another. On to the next.
Good day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karen Rose Fells. It was a huge weekend in sports, not just NBA playoffs. I feel like every sport, we have a story for you, and we are going to cover all of it. So let's get after it. We start with Game 7. So despite a record-breaking performance by Luka Doncic, who scored or assisted on 77 against the Clippers, the most in NBA history by a player in a Game 7, it wasn't enough. Kawhi, Paul George, Marcus Morris, total team effort to clinch the series, a 15-point game win at Staples, and the Clips now move on to the Western Conference semis. They'll face Donovan Mitchell in the Jazz. Kawhi putting in that work, not just on the court, in the film room, too.
As we watch film, and we've seen that we are leaving each other on islands, mainly on the defensive end. Nobody's really selfish on the offensive end on this team. That's up to me and PG and playmakers on the offensive end not to be selfish, because at times you feel like you got to do it all. But these games aren't won with just one or two great players. You need a whole 17 or 16 players that you have, guys on the bench clapping, letting you know what's going on, and the rotation players. So,
What do you think you've been able to
I think we had trust at the beginning, but we just had to dial in on what we were doing.
What do you think you've been able to prove in this series and even last year in the playoffs?
Nothing yet. We've been in the playoffs twice since I'm there. We lost both times, so nothing yet. You get paid to win, so we can do it.
All right, I told you about Luka. Let's talk Kawhi. He became the first player since Shaq in 2000 to score 30 points per game on 60% shooting in a single playoff series. What's even more impressive, his average shot distance was over 13 feet. Shaq's under 5. Stephen A. Are you confident in Kawhi and PG-13, that duo now?
Hell no. I mean, I congratulate them on getting past the first round. They handled their business. I had my reservations at first. I thought they were going. I picked them to win the series at the start of the series, Max. Then I thought they were going to get swept after losing the first two in L.A. Props to them. They came back. But then they go back to Los Angeles and they lose Game 5.
Yeah, the Mavs were supposed to be done winning.
Giving up 40 to Luka. And then they going back to Dallas in Game 6, which I thought they would win. I thought they would win Game 6 and then be typical Clippers and lose in Game 7 because of the way the series had gone. But props to Kawhi Leonard for showing up, showing out, handling his business, reminding us the superstar talent that he is. Major, major props. And props to Paul George as well. Averaged 23 a game in this series. Shot better than 46% from the field in this series. He handled his business as well. Marcus Morris came up big time yesterday with some big time shots. I give him a lot of credit along with Reggie Jackson. But with all due respect, the Dallas Mavericks might have Luka, but they ain't the Jazz. That's the next team. Top 4 offensively, averaging better than 116 points per game. Top 3 defensively, yielding about 107 a game. In their first round playoff series against the Utah Jazz, they got not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 dudes averaging at least 17 a game. They got elite perimeters, defenders like Conley and Royce O'Neal on the perimeter. You've got Rudy Gobert, who may be Defensive Player of the Year in the interior. And, oh, by the way, they got a superstar, too, because Donovan Mitchell is on that level. Let me be very, very clear. I'm not speculating. I ain't guessing. I don't need to see. I've seen it. Donovan Mitchell is D-Wade 2.0. This brother is something special. And whatever you had to deal with Luka, you going to have to deal with Donovan Mitchell. So Kawhi and Paul George, look out, because Donovan Mitchell is coming. The difference between him and Luka is that Donovan Mitchell got help. I didn't even remember Bogdanovich, Conley, and Gobert and those boys offensively, okay? Oh, and Engel as well.
Ingles,
Clarkson. That's right, Ron Clark. He has help. Luka did it. Don't get me started with you.
His body won't hold up. That's the issue. That's right. His body won't hold up.
And Porzingis. I'm so done with him.
His body won't hold up. That's the issue.
That's right.
His body won't hold up.
Well, he was in the game yesterday.
Yeah, but he has to always play himself back to where he was. He's never.
Don't you worry. We're going to have more on that later in the show.
7'3" pedestrian. Never drives.
Here's the bottom line. You have to be confident in Kawhi and Paul George after what you just saw. I am. The real issue has never been Kawhi. Will Kawhi answer the bell? Has he had bad games in the playoffs? Everyone has, including Kawhi. Kawhi is one of the most clutch players who's ever played basketball. Look at his playoff resume. He is a 2-time Finals MVP. Once as a 22-year-old baby, and later on as the best guy on the team in Toronto for 2 different franchises. And by the way, Stephen A., that's just the Finals MVP. If they gave out playoff MVP, he'd have some of those too. Because he's had playoffs where by then you go, that dude was the most clutch dude in the playoffs, including the year he won it with Toronto.
Okay.
The series against Toronto was not his most impressive series. He went crazy that whole time. Okay, Kawhi as a lead dude in the playoffs, you have to be confident in. He did it again. You know what he did? By the way, when I say he did it again, you know what he did? He talked about Steph Curry, 50-40-90. He went 60-40-90 for this 7-game playoff series. How about this one? Kirk Goldsberry had this on ESPN.
Yeah.
There are only 3 dudes until now who shot 60% from the field. 60. And Kawhi is a wing. Those shots, as we saw from the graphic, are coming from distance. Shaq wasn't a wing. Kareem wasn't a wing. Bernard King. Stephen A. remembers a sweet shooting dude. Bernard. Those are the only 3 ever to have 200 points, 60%. Kawhi is fine. So the question is Paul George. Do you have confidence in Paul George? What did we see from Paul George? He's played in this series consistently better than he's played in high leverage moments throughout his career in the playoffs. Playoff P, if anything, is Porzingis now, not Paul George. Let's be honest. Is that a second banana who you can win a title with? Yep. From what I saw, that dude played well enough to be the second dude. He has to keep that up. The Jazz are a whole lotta. Right now, you make me pick, I'll take the Clippers because they have Kawhi and Paul George.
I think the Utah Jazz.
I'm not doing that. You're going to have to show me you can beat the Utah Jazz. I think the Utah Jazz are the best team in the Western Conference. I think they'll beat Phoenix or Denver, and I definitely think they'll beat the Clippers. You got to show me you can take these brothers out because I believe in these Utah Jazz, because I believe in Donovan Mitchell. Everything is predicated on Donovan Mitchell. If he's not playing, all bets are off. But with him on the court, with the Utah Jazz, they are something special to behold. Quinn Snyder, he was a Coach of the Year candidate and well-deserved. Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year. As long as he ain't going against Joel Embiid, he all right, okay? Not to say that Jokic can't give him a little something too. I understand he can, but I'm just saying Joel Embiid is a different monster because of his athleticism and his abilities. With Jokic, he can't jump onto a curb, but somehow, some way, nobody can stop him. I've never understood
passing
that.
Ability
But
is
I'm just saying that's not you. If you're a defender against Jokic, you can't worry about his passing.
That's what I mean.
I'm talking about a straight up defense. A straight up like manning up against them.
No doubt.
If you pass the ball to somebody else, that's not your concern. I'm just talking about what he did.
Does Gobert want to follow him out to the 3-point line?
Giving them 30. Well, if he had to, yeah, he could pull Gobert away from the basket. That would make that series interesting. I understand that. But in the end, I'm looking at the arsenal. These brothers for Utah, they can play it slow, they can play up tempo, and they hit threes.
Yeah.
They shoot and defend.
Threes. It's going to be interesting, no doubt.
Can't wait for
but
the series.
I got Utah. I got Utah winning that series.
By the way,
so does Vegas.
Mike Conley's hamstring not so great. So Donovan Mitchell needs everything you said is true about the team. He still needs a second dude, a second banana like Kawhi has, who can get his own shot, hook up his teammates. You still need that,
right,
and
guys,
Conley's not going to be that.
We'll get into this a little later.
Yeah.
All right, maybe
we disagree.
Let's leave it there.
We disagree.
But the Jazz have the best odds to win the West. That's according to Vegas, and then the Clippers second best. All right, we'll keep it rolling, guys. Night, 7:30 Eastern. 43 seconds into the game, a huge loss. James Harden re-aggravating that hamstring and is done for the night. The Nets still found a way and are up 1-0. As for tonight, Harden will be out again. Here's his coach, the Hall of Famer Steve Nash, with more details.
To be honest with you, tightness and most importantly is he's out for the next game. So we're preparing for tomorrow night, as we ended up playing last night, and that's our focus. For James, we obviously are desperate for him to return, and he's a huge piece of what we do in our team. But at this point, I think it would be all guesswork to really understand. He's had such a little, up and down recent history with it that it's really hard to predict.
Are you hopeful of seeing him in this series at all?
I'm definitely hopeful of seeing him. Like I said, it's tightness, and we've had this history before, which was very difficult to kind of, like I said, predict how it will go. So I'm very reluctant to kind of make any prognosis, but obviously we're really hopeful that he heals quickly and can move past it.
Max, let me just say this really quickly before you. Please, no more superstars getting hurt. I cannot take this.
Short off season.
I know, but it's like one after the other. Hopefully he will be okay. I know it can't go tonight, but Max, how can get this done without Harden at 100%?
Oh, without Harden, it's going to be really tough. The Nets with Harden are a super duper team. Harden's the most important player on the team. He's the one you saw that when Harden's healthy, they win. They almost always win. When he's not, sometimes KD and Kyrie lose. They don't win as much as you would think. Playoffs are a little different, but Harden is the most important player on the team. Without him, they're not a super-duper team. They're just a team with some stars. But you know who one of those stars might be? And this is kind of the least talked about theme so far from these playoffs, the resurgence of Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
Blake Griffin was probably the difference in game one. If this dude gets back to most of what he was, remember he couldn't dunk for a year and a half, couldn't even dunk it now. Oh yeah, that looks like Blake Griffin. If Blake Griffin gets back to being an all-star or an almost all-star, which he's kind of playing at right now it's a different story. I mean, the Nets are so loaded that maybe even without their most important player, they could do it. But I can't say I'm confident that they would beat the Bucks. The Bucks missed a lot of open shots for the Nets to win that first game. They did get a big game for Blake Griffin. Can you count on Blake to do that reliably throughout a playoff series? I don't know the answer to that question. I would just say, with James Harden, they're smoking everyone. AD's hamstring or groin, that's like a hamstring. Look what happened. Harden, with this same issues, missed 20-something games this year. There's a good chance Harden misses this series. Then Blake has got to step up if the Nets want to win.
I'm confident because they have Kevin Durant. I'm so sick and tired of this James Harden, Kyrie. Everything in Brooklyn is about Kevin Durant. Everybody else is a sidekick. It's no knock against the future Hall of Famer and prolific scoring champion that is James Harden. It's no knock against Mr. Box Office himself, the best show in basketball, which is Kyrie Irving, because the brother is just a showstopper. It's just the reality that Kevin Durant is on another level. When healthy, he is the best player in the world. He is that lethal, the best offensive player in the world. It is just that simple. He is that lethal. Now, I'll tell you this. Here's another reason I'm not worried. Yo, Chris Middleton, how you doing, bro? What's going on, Chris Middleton? How's everything going, man? I mean, my name is Stephen A. We cover the game of basketball, even though people like Max look brilliant right now because he said there ain't no big three in Milwaukee. I'm here to tell you, Chris Middleton, there was supposed to be a big three. You were supposed to be a part of that. 6 for 23. Really? With no James Harden. You got Joe Harris looking like the second coming of Ray Allen. You got Blake Griffin. All right, I told you the brother could play. He just didn't want to play in Detroit. That's what that was all about. He just didn't want to play.
The biggest story in the NBA. No one's talking about right now.
He just didn't want to play. Diving for loose balls on the floor. Energizing the crowd in Brooklyn like Dennis Rodman did at the Palace in Auburn Hills.
Blake owes
or even at the
Detroit
Silverdome.
Blake owes Detroit money.
He didn't want to play. He didn't want to play there. I knew Blake Griffin could still play. He didn't want to be in Detroit. He was playing for nothing. And that's what we're seeing right now because he's interested in playing basketball again, okay? Don't tell me a 6'9" former Skywalker can't even dunk for 2 years. You ain't interested in playing. He could dunk. He didn't want to play. Okay, but Chris Middleton, back to you. My brother, Milwaukee has no chance in this series if you don't show up. And if you could show up against Miami, how come you can't show up against Brooklyn, bro? How come you can't show up against Brooklyn? What's the problem? Drew Holiday, last time I checked, you get paid. What's up? I mean, what you gonna do? So I'm just looking at it, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, 34-11, just 3 times, but 0-3 from the free throw line. That stuff matters against Brooklyn because they don't miss free throws. They don't miss free throws. This is how you got to pay attention to this
Chris
kind of stuff.
Middleton going to wind up in the Hall of Fame one day?
Well, in today's Hall of Fame, actually, never
Do you think Middleton's going to make?
He got
Middleton
a chance.
Going to wind up in the Hall. Middleton ain't going to the Hall of Fame.
Max, he got a chance. The basketball Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, come on now. It ain't hard to get in there. Don't get me started with that. Ain't that hard?
Just go on the record. I don't think Middleton's making the Hall of Fame.
All right.
I don't think Drew Holiday's making the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and KD are all getting in. If there's a way to get in before the first vote, they'll get in before. You might as well just put them in now.
All right.
There are levels to this. How are you going to call that a big three compared to this?
No, I didn't say it's a big three compared. I'm saying a version of your big three. In other words, if Chris Middleton shows up the way he did in Miami, hitting shots that he's supposed to hit, you still ain't Kyrie. You still ain't James Harden, but you're doing your job. And see, that's what you got to pay attention to. See, a lot of times you'll sit up there and you'll look at somebody on their perch. Like the big thing, we know KD. I'm confident because they have Kevin Durant. I'm so sick and tired of this James Harden, Kyrie. Everything in Brooklyn is about Kevin Durant. Everybody else is a sidekick. It's no knock against the future Hall of Famer and prolific scoring champion that is James Harden. It's no knock against Mr. Box Office himself, the best show in basketball, which is Kyrie Irving, because the brother is just a showstopper. It's just the reality that Kevin Durant is on another level. When healthy, he is the best player in the world. He is that lethal, the best offensive player in the world. It is just that simple. He is that lethal. Now, I'll tell you this. Here's another reason I'm not worried. Yo, Chris Middleton, how you doing, bro? What's going on, Chris Middleton? How's everything going, man? I mean, my name is Stephen A. We cover the game of basketball, even though people like Max look brilliant right now because he said there ain't no big three in Milwaukee. I'm here to tell you, Chris Middleton, there was supposed to be a big three. You were supposed to be a part of that. 6 for 23. Really? With no James Harden. You got Joe Harris looking like the second coming of Ray Allen. You got Blake Griffin. All right, I told you the brother could play. He just didn't want to play in Detroit. That's what that was all about. He just didn't want to play.
The biggest story in the NBA. No one's talking about
it. He just didn't want to play, diving for loose balls on the floor, energizing the crowd in Brooklyn like Dennis Rodman did at the Palace in Auburn Hills.
Blake owes Detroit money. Blake owes Detroit money. He
didn't want to play. He didn't want to play there. I knew Blake Griffin could still play. He didn't want to be in Detroit. He was playing for nothing. And that's what we're seeing right now because he's interested in playing basketball again, okay? Don't tell me a 6'9" former Skywalker can't even dunk for 2 years. You ain't interested in playing. When he could dunk. He didn't want to play. Okay, but Chris Middleton, back to you. My brother, Milwaukee has no chance in this series if you don't show up. And if you could show up against Miami, how come you can't show up against Brooklyn, bro? How come you can't show up against Brooklyn? What's the problem? Drew Holiday, last time I checked, you get paid. What's up? I mean, what you gonna do? So I'm just looking at it, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, 34-11, just 3 times. But 0-3 from the free throw line. That stuff matters against Brooklyn because they don't miss free throws.
Yeah,
they don't miss free throws. This is how you got to pay attention to this
Chris
kind of stuff.
Middleton going to wind up in the Hall of Fame one day?
Oh, in today's Hall of Fame, actually, never know.
Do you think Middleton's going to make?
He got a chance.
Middleton going to wind up in the Hall. Middleton ain't going to the Hall of Fame.
Max, he got a chance. The basketball Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, come on now. It ain't hard to get in there. Don't get me started with that. It ain't that hard.
I don't think Middleton's making the Hall of Fame.
All right.
I don't think Drew Holiday's making the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and KD are all getting in. If there's a way to get in before the first vote, they'll get in before. You might as well just put them in now.
All right.
There are levels to this. How are you going to call that a big three compared to this?
No, I didn't say it's a big three compared. I'm saying you're supposed to have a version of your big three. In other words, if Chris Middleton shows up the way he did in Miami, hitting shots that he's supposed to hit, you still ain't Kyrie. You still ain't James Harden, but you're doing your job.
And see, that's what you got to pay attention to. See, a lot of times you'll sit up there and you'll look at somebody on their perch. Like the big thing, we know KD, Kyrie, and James Harden on another level. We get that. But the point is when you dissect one team going up against another, it really comes down to everybody doing their job. If they do their job offensively, if they do their job, because the Nets ain't in a top 20 team defensively.
No, they missed a lot of open shots, the Bucks.
If they do their job, then it's interesting. Remember, without Jaylen Brown, Boston was able to steal a game because guys showed up one night and helped Jason Tatum.
Let me put it this way. Is Chris Middleton the second best player on a championship team or the third best player on a championship team?
I think Chris Middleton at his best could be a second best player.
But the reason he's Chris Middleton is because he's not always like that. He's not Klay Thompson.
All right, Max.
Klay Thompson's always that.
But then, Max, then be quiet about the rest of the series then, because he's never going to do that. What I'm trying to say, don't talk about it then.
No. What I'm saying
is this is what you need to do to win.
What I'm saying is two things. One, without James Harden, it's different because we saw that we have to acknowledge the Bucks also didn't shoot it well. They had looks that they didn't hit. And two, you say KD is the best player in the world, and then you have to quickly say offensively. And you know why you have to say that? Because pre-Achilles, if he was playing like that, we just say he's the best player in the world right now. Because his defense was crazy too. He got to be a very high-level defensive player. He will still accept tough defensive assignment, just doesn't do it very well right now. KD that's the part of his game that is not recovered fully.
No.
So that's why you're not saying he's the best player in the world.
Let me educate you about something. When you are so prolific offensively, you want to see a team that cheats defensively? It's the team that knows they could close their eyes, have one hand tied behind their back, and they could still drop 120 a night.
Is that the Warriors?
No.
Because he played defense. He played high-level defense on the Warriors.
But you got to remember, Steve Kerr, different coach. Not D'Antoni with Nash.
You're saying D'Antoni's not known for his defense?
How about that? The point that I'm trying to make to you is that's what is a different system, and it's a different way that they play. And not only that, you got a talk on your front line like Draymond Green that's yelling out assignments and backing you up. They know what they're doing. These brothers are learning on the fly. I'm talking about Nash and D'Antoni. Defensively, I'm talking about. Offensively, they know what the hell they're doing.
Affecting KD's defense.
Yeah, but also you got KD coming off the Achilles, and when you play in defense, you're at the mercy of somebody else. And sometimes you don't want to take that chance again.
No doubt,
because you know you can drop 120 in your sleep. I'm saying you can take.
Are you willing? Therefore, are you saying KD's the best player in the world? Period. Right now.
Yes, I feel that way.
Period. Not just offensively.
I feel that way. But let me tell you this, because I want to get to my point. I want to get back to Middleton. All I need Middleton to do, Max, is shoot 44, 45%. That's it, Max. You make sure you take anywhere from 18 to 20 shots a game. You hit about 45% of your shots. That is not too much to ask for Chris Middleton. He's done that more often than not. That's not a lot to ask. And that's what we're talking about here. It was a game until they pulled away in the fourth quarter. It was a game. The point is that you got the pieces. And listen, and don't tell me about big with Milwaukee in terms of playing big. The only guy that plays big in the low post area is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Drew Holiday.
Lopez certainly ain't going to be that dude.
If James Harden is playing, now they have a problem defensively. Because against a bigger guard, Drew is not the same as against a smaller guard, right? And he can't guard Kyrie and James Harden at the same time. Who can guard those guys anyway? Once you take James Harden off of the Nets, Blake Griffin has to keep doing this for them to beat Milwaukee. I'm not sure they can beat them without
Fellas,
James
here's
Harden.
the deal. Game 2 is tonight, 7:30 Eastern. We'll learn a lot. We'll revisit this subject tomorrow.
Okay.
Sound good?
I'm telling you, Kevin Durant can take a nap and drop 40.
Yeah, we
He
all
can take
know
a nap and
He's
drop
Kevin Durant.
He's Kevin Durant.
Okay.
You know who he is.
We know
You know who he is.
Get familiar. Super Bowl champ Keyshawn Johnson joining us now. And Keyshawn once said, just give me the damn ball, so I will start with him. Key, do you like the Titans trade for Julio Jones?
I mean, I like it for Atlanta. I don't necessarily like it for Tennessee because I'm trying to figure out what are they going to do with him. They're going to all of a sudden, Molly, change their system and become a pass-heavy offense. When you have a healthy skill set like Julio Jones, you've got to maximize his ability. And that means going away from your strength, which is the running game. Their strength is the running game. So now you're getting ready to ask Julio Jones to block primarily, 60-something% of the time on your team. And that doesn't make any sense to me. You had a guy in Corey Davis who, was in and out of the lineup throughout his 4 years in Tennessee, but he caught fire this past year, highly productive, went to the New York Jets in free agency, and now you have Julio Jones coming off one of his worst years as a pro, you give up a second-round pick, a fourth-round pick. You get a sixth-rounder back in return. So what are we going to do now? Are we all of a sudden getting ready to line up and throw the ball all over the lot?
I like Tennessee, Keyshawn, just because you add Julio Jones to A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. You have a lot of skills guys. The issue for me with Tennessee is their defense is what they needed to address, which they tried to do through the draft. But they lost a lot on the defensive guy, and Julio's not going to play defense. The bigger thing for me is that Julio Jones is a guy, to me, you pick up if you want to find out about your quarterback. Like, I would have loved to see him on the Ravens. Key, no matter what the scheme is, whatever, Julio is going to help you. Having him on the field is going to help you. What does he not do really well? You want to find out about Lamar Jackson? How good could he be? Go get him Julio Jones. You want to find out about Cam or whoever is going to start in New England? Go get him Julio Jones. You'll find out about him. And what this told me, because I started thinking about this team offensively, and they should be a juggernaut. They got the best 1-2 punch at receiver in the NFL right now. And do I believe in him? No, I still don't believe in him. And that tells me something about Tannehill, where I always was thinking, oh, he's a little underrated and Tannehill's good and everything, but it's not the old NFL where good enough is good enough. You need a little something extra from your quarterback that I don't know that Tannehill gives you. But I'll tell you this, we will find out with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones on the same team. We will find out about the quarterback.
I love it. I personally love it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the best defense is a lethal offense. You got to take into consideration the level of competition. We can't just look at the Titans in a vacuum. We got to look at the rest of the AFC and what they're bringing to the table. I like what the Buffalo Bills did, but we all know it comes down to Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, and they don't have much help, even though I think they just acquired Sammy Watkins. But the point is, you look at Miami, I'm looking at Tua Tagovailoa, and they've got some things to improve on their offense. I'm looking at Pittsburgh. Obviously, they drafted Najee Harris, and we know what a Steelers fan I am. There's something to be reckoned with, but they still got stuff to prove because obviously you've got people looking at Big Ben Roethlisberger and wondering what's going on with him. The Baltimore Ravens going to be there because of Lamar Jackson, but how much have they really upgraded in terms of their receiving core? The Cleveland Browns are what they are. They vastly improved, but was it a one-year fluke? I mean, they're going to be battling in the AFC North, so you got something to think about there. Houston's a mess in the South. Indy, we still got Carson Wentz there. He's got to show that he can resurrect his career, and Jacksonville ain't relevant yet. And then the standard is really Kansas City right now. And Kansas City, how are you going to stop them? It ain't going to be because Bud Dupree left Pittsburgh and decided to go to Tennessee. It ain't going to be because Janoris Jenkins is there. It's going to be because you keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. Or you got a potent offense. So if I've got you stacking the deck, loading the block to make sure that Derrick Henry doesn't run for another 2,000 yards this season, okay? Well, not only do I have A.J. Brown to throw the ball to, but I got Julio Jones. Yeah. Because I got that, I can't stack the deck. And if I can't stack the deck, can't load the block, bottom line is I'm giving the ball to Derrick Henry. Those kind of things can lend itself towards you being more potent. And I think Mike Vrabel has shown us throughout his years coaching in Tennessee that somehow, some way, particularly around postseason time, just when you had question marks about what they'll be able to do and how much noise they'll be capable of making. They've made some noise in the postseason, and I think this is a step in the right direction.
I want to go to Key on something. Keyshawn, listen to this. So I got the odds here to win the AFC, and actually the Titans are 7th, which I find surprising. So they got the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Browns, Broncos, and Colts ahead of them. Do you think that's accurate?
I think it's pretty accurate. Give it to me one more time. What team in there?
Okay.
Give it to me.
So it's Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Browns, Broncos, which is kind of interesting to me.
Anticipating Aaron Rodgers.
And then the Colts.
The Broncos was interesting. If Aaron Rodgers goes there, the Broncos, they jump significantly. They might be 3 in that list of teams, depending on what they have to give up in return to get Aaron Rodgers. When you look at it, look, Stephen, here's what I would say. Yes, they got 2 dynamic bookends, but that means you have to go away from what your staple is, which is running the football, in order to look at Buffalo, to look at Kansas City in the eyes, to even to a degree, look at the Baltimore Ravens. You say you don't know what they did. They went out and got Sharpe, who they drafted, Sammy Watson. If he stays healthy, he can be pretty good, as well as Hollywood Brown. So you know what they are offensively. And on top of that, they went out there and they got 2 wide receiver coaches and a guy named Keith Williams. You've never heard of him. But trust me, Stephen A., when I tell you this, nobody's better than him in the NFL. And he came from college. Okay, he's trained Devontae Adams along with Tyreek Hill and a host of other guys. And then T. Martin, who came from college. You've seen the receivers he's developed in his young coaching career. So they did some stuff on the offensive side that makes me go, I don't think the Julio Jones thing, based on everything that they did, they needed to go that route. For me, what I wanted to see, New England, the Raiders, maybe Green Bay, San Francisco, all try to get Julio Jones.
Well, for me, I just want to make sure because I meant Sammy Watkins with Baltimore, not Buffalo. So so I appreciate that. The other thing is this: the AFC East, the AFC North, beating up on each other. We can't ignore that. And then when you get to the South, really the only team you worried about is Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, the division is not terrifying.
The division is not terrifying, and so I look at it from that perspective too. And I take it to so now you talk about you pulling the New England here. You know how for years New England was playing in the AFC East and you didn't have much to worry about. And then basically you're talking about them winning 2 playoff games. Yeah. That's how I view Tennessee right now. Get to the postseason. And then all right, now you got to win 2-3 games.
I have a question for you, Keith, because Stephen A. brought up a good point, and you guys both were talking about the fact that the identity is running the ball, right? And that's partly because the offensive line is a good run-blocking offensive line. My question for you is, when you bring in someone like Julio, does a line have a chance through scheme to go to get better pass protection? You know what I mean? Is that are they good run blocking because they have Derrick Henry and it's a point of emphasis, or can they get better in pass protection?
Well, the pass protection is only play action pass, right? They did that last year. Think about it. Both receivers in Corey Davis and A.J. Brown essentially had 2,000 yards between the two of them. So they do throw the football. What you got to realize in these situations, when you get somebody like Julio Jones, the mindset changes for the new offensive coordinator. All of a sudden, he thinks that the offensive identity needs to change because you got a prolific star wide receiver and you get away from doing the things that you do best. That is what is going to be the problem with the Tennessee Titans. On top of that, their offensive coordinator, and Arthur Smith, is now the head coach in Atlanta. So there's a huge difference there from what they did over the last year. And I think that that's what a lot of people are missing. They're just looking at Julio Jones, 1,600-yard receiver, 1,500-yard receiver, and they think you're going to duplicate that. If you're the Tennessee Titans, you should have kept Corey Davis if you're going and getting Julio Jones. In this system and in this style, you've given up assets. You've given them up for a 32-year-old guy with a lot of money that you have to commit to. When you develop this Corey Davis and you drafted him and you let him walk out the door. That just doesn't make sense.
Listen, I look at it and I say to myself, I get your point. All I'm going like is this. All these offensive coordinators, there's been a couple of offensive coordinators for the Tennessee Titans that ended up getting head coaching job. And I mean, Matt LaFleur is the head coach of the Green Bay Packers back-to-back 13 and 3 seasons. I know that, but I also know he got the job when he was the 27th ranked offense, okay? And then you look at Arthur Smith, okay, I'm happy that he got the job in Atlanta. Good luck to him. But damn, your passing offense was in the 20s. Why did you have a decent offense? Because it was the number 2 ranked rushing attack with Derrick Henry rushing for 2,027 yards. So
that's why they're not going away from it.
Here's
wait a minute, but they could weigh it down, Keyshawn. They might be wiser, and he might be saying, listen, give me the ball just a touch less now. They gave him a 4-year deal. It won the last 4 years. They guaranteed $25.5 million.
Key, you go from
nope.
Key, let me give you the dummy sports guy take, right? But in this case, I think it's hard to talk me out of it, at least the way I'm feeling it. You go from Davis to Julio Jones. You have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones now as your 2 best receivers. How do you say no to that? That's got to be an upgrade.
It's not that it's not an upgrade, Max. It's just that when you have a philosophy and a style that you believe in, and I'm a defensive-minded coach, I run the football, I play defense, and I try my best to not allow my quarterback to screw it up. That's not going to change. They're not going to become the Kansas City Chiefs because they got Julio Jones.
Yeah, because they don't have the right quarterback, maybe. I mean, that's why it got me thinking about the quarterback.
All right. They won the division last season, lost in the wild card. If we're talking about 6 teams are potentially better than them in the AFC, I'm not really moved at this moment.
Ryan Tannehill did complete 65% of his passes, throw for 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. I mean, and he got Julio
sitting here
Jones
saying he's underrated until it comes down to
it. Too. I mean, it is possible they might throw the ball a little bit more. It's possible.
Anything's possible. A dead clock's right twice a day. Didn't you say that? All right, Keith, thank you for sticking around with us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
All right, guys.
The Sixers, Joel Embiid will start Game 1 against the Hawks.
Trey, what is the main goal of the team right now?
To win.
Oh, from way downtown.
Every single guy is trying to do too much.
We know they're going to come out with a lot of energy.
A long 3. He's got it.
He is serving everybody. We are seeing something we never expected. The exclamation point, John Collins.
I just want to play basketball and have fun.
Sure is. Hawks-Sixers Game 1 did not disappoint. After dominating the first 24 minutes, taking a 20-point lead into half, the Hawks had their hands full in the second half as the Sixers made a furious comeback to cut the lead all the way down to 3 in the closing minutes. Now, despite being outscored 70-54 in the second half, Atlanta able to hold on for the win. A small tear in his meniscus did not stop Joel Embiid, who started for the Sixers, scoring a game-high 39 points to go along with 9 rebounds, 4 assists, in 3 blocks. Meanwhile, Trae Young continues to make NBA history. Not only did he become the first Hawks player ever to record 35 points and 10 assists in a playoff game, he also became just the second player in NBA history to score 30 points in each of his first 4 career playoff games against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the other. Ice Trae, talk.
It was a great start. We had a great start to the game. Guys were locked in and focused from the jump, and it was good to see. And the way we started in that first half, we just got to continue that. In the second half, I think we did a good job in that third, but late in the game, I take a lot of responsibility for the turnovers, and for kind of managing the game, I can do it a little bit better. And best thing that happened today is we won. We have a lot of things we can get better at, so I'm not mad about that.
How's your knee feeling after this game?
It's all right. Man, I don't know, but playing on its home meniscus is, I guess, not easy. But it's all right. Just gotta keep managing it and hope for the best.
Stephen A. Bigger Game 1 story, Trae or Simmons?
Trae Young. We all on notice. My emotions are over. I saw what he did to my Knicks. Saw what he did to me and my dreams, my fantasies.
Your hopes.
He just ruined that.
Crushed.
He just ruined that. All I wanted was for the Knicks to get to the second round. I knew they weren't doing anything after that.
Knicks fan ever wants.
I knew they weren't going to do that and do anything after that. I didn't see this coming. The Atlanta Hawks are really damn good. These brothers can shoot. They can play. And Trae Young is a guy that Luka's Luka, and we get that, but Trae Young is something special. He is a star in this league. He is on the verge of superstardom because the biggest stage is what he loves. And when you love the biggest stage and you show up and show that you love it and why, that's what makes stars in this league. That's what makes your name for you. He strikes fear in people now, right? His movement without the basketball, his quickness, his ball handling skills, his passing ability. And of course, he is sniper-like tendencies. But the biggest thing is the people he's got to pass the ball to. Ladies and gentlemen, John Collins can play. All right, this guy, Kevin Huerter, can shoot the rock. Collins can shoot too. Bogdanovich can shoot. Silence the Sixers with that late 3. You can't leave them open. Who you're going to go? You literally got to pick your poison because they got poison all over the Atlanta Hawks roster. And I'm here to announce this on national television. 76ers don't win game 2. This series is over. They're not beating Atlanta 4 out of 5 games. Not the way they shoot. Not the way they shoot. And Ben Simmons, I said this many times, he hit all 7 of his shots. His athleticism, his attack in the basket, his defense. Ben Simmons is special, man. but he is no threat from the perimeter. And because he's no threat from the perimeter, they get to key on some of the Sixers shooters the way the Sixers wish they could key on Atlanta shooters. That's a problem. And they're going to have to figure out how to fix it. I believe they can, but they better start game 2. You ain't coming back from an 0-2 deficit against this Hawks team, in my estimation. Game 2 is the series for the 76ers.
The story was not Trae Young. Props to Trae Young. Because that Luka trade went from, like, lopsided to not so lopsided anymore. Whoever gets Luka still wins the deal, but Trae Young is making that trade like, oh, okay, we see you in that.
Remember, they got a first-round pick.
Yeah. The issue is not Ben Simmons either. It's not Trae Young or Ben Simmons. The real story that come out of Game 1 is Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is the story. You know, we were talking earlier about the Clippers. Do you have confidence in Kawhi and Paul George, Stephen A? And I said, yeah. And part of that is because of Ty Lue. Ty Lue, like, we should get something straight. Ty Lue, I think he's now 4-0 in Game 7s as a coach. It's not just that he has the horses. It's that he can really coach. Doc Rivers is going to be a Hall of Fame coach. He's won a championship. I think he's a great coach. However, doesn't mean he's perfect. Everyone has these things, and the same thing that makes him a great coach, some of the same things can hold him back. For example, loyalty or being, intractable and stubborn. He does this thing where, so let's take yesterday, for example. First he puts Danny Green on Trae Young, right? You want to save Ben Simmons for later in the game. Danny Green can defend on ball, but not a dude like Trae Young. So they fall behind. Then he does this thing, which he's been doing all year, Doc Rivers, where he plays an exclusively bench unit at the end of the first, the beginning of the second. That's when they got killed. That's when they got buried. Trae Young, Danny Green on Trae Young, it gave him a little lead, and then the Hawks, and then Doc buried him with this bench unit. Can't do it, right? Like, you're supposed to tighten the rotation in the playoffs. They go 11 deep, and they have some guys who are not playable now, like Shake Milton, and a few other guys. You really shouldn't be playing these dudes. So what happened? They fell behind by so much because Doc stayed with the thing he'd done in the regular season, which you'd think he wouldn't do in the playoffs. Then later in the game, he makes some adjustments. Ben Simmons on Trae Young. How'd he do, Stephen A? When you put Thibault and Simmons on Trae Young, suddenly it wasn't like the first half, that's for sure.
They trapped a lot.
And the Sixers caught up. Now, here's the problem. Doc just wasted a performance by Embiid, which on a torn meniscus, you can't ask that dude to do every night. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. So to me, the story is Doc Rivers. Will he be the stubborn old Hall of Fame coach who knows he's going to do it his way, or is he going to look at this and say, I can't do the thing I want to do, I can't do? Because Trae Young just showed you can't do it. Can't do it. Can't play that bench unit. Just, you're going to get buried every game against this Hawks team.
I get where you're coming from. Because I would have never put Danny Green on Trae Young. Too small, too cat quick. That ain't the kind of dude that Danny Green should be defending. But that's not what I'm getting on Danny Green about. 2 for 7 shooting. I need better. Last time we saw Danny Green was in the finals. We were not impressed. There's a reason he's not a member of the Lakers any longer. Okay? They didn't want him. All right? And the reality is that game, that game 5, he didn't get it done. We all know that. They took the Miami Heat out in 6 games. He goes to Philadelphia this year. He's having a pretty decent year. But Danny Green's a veteran. You got to show up for games like this. Especially when you're going up against an Atlanta Hawks squad who's going to score points. They're going to score points. Now, we would sit up there and say, hey, you know what? Let's take Ben Simmons and put him on Trae Young. Ben Simmons probably wants that assignment. But if you watch Trae Young play, get the scoring. You know what Trae Young would do to Ben Simmons? You know what the first thing he'll do? Give him foul trouble. All of a sudden he's dribbling and stop and bump into him and then go flopping. And he's such a miniature dude. That's why Doc held that matchup for later. He's such a miniature dude. I don't need to do that to him because he will get in foul trouble. Because Trae Young can get anybody in foul trouble, right? But here's the problem. You got to put Ben Simmons on somebody, right? You can't, a guy like Thibault, but But if you put him on the court with Ben Simmons at
not
the
enough
same
shooting.
time, it's
but
not
you get,
enough shooting.
Between Simmons and Thibault, you got 48 minutes of defense on that position.
I understand that. I understand that. But the point is, you don't have the playmaking ability because Thibault can't do what Ben Simmons can do. And that's where your problem lies, which gets us back to the shooting. Because if Atlanta was a team that struggled to score from the perimeter, you could take your chances with exactly what I just mentioned. You can't, because they got 4 dudes on the court that can light it up from the outside. You're going to have to find a way. And Isaiah Thomas and I have talked about this on many, many occasions, because I said, when I look at James Harden, KD, and Kyrie with Brooklyn, Max, at the end of the day, you know the only thing that has a chance of stopping Brooklyn? You got to man up. You got to literally go one-on-one. I'm going to keep a body in front of them.
Philly is the only team with a
At
chance.
all times, I got to have a body in front of them with a hand in their face. This switching and doubling and leaving somebody open, you can't do that to Brooklyn,
right?
And you can't do that to Atlanta.
And the other thing you can't do to Atlanta is play Maxey and Thibault, and you can't take your whole bench and put them out there for that amount of time to end quarters and begin quarters. You're going to get buried. But they showed, Embiid gave you enough. You could have won that game last night.
No question. I got something juicy for you coming up, guys. Has the King been dethroned? We're talking 77 points in Game 7. They were sent packing. He's certainly not the issue. Kristaps Porzingis, he's injury-prone. Stephen A. mentioned it. So is it his supporting cast, or is it coaching? Mark Cuban told ESPN he's not considering moving on from Rick Carlisle. Max, break it down for me here. What's the problem in Dallas?
Well, the problem in Dallas is Porzingis can't stay healthy. And what that means is every year, if he's lucky, he can get back to where he was the previous season at the end of the season. He didn't even do that this season. This season, he didn't even do that. Last season, the bubble season, he spent the year trying to get back to where he was. And by the way, he got there. He couldn't get past it, but he got there. 35 points in the playoffs. Maybe he's going to be the deciding factor against the Clippers. It didn't work out that way. Got hurt, as usual. And then this year, he wasn't even able to get back to where he was last year. Look, you're 7'3". You know, you have to see, the reason the Lakers don't draft bigs is because they want to see, with bigs, we've got giants, whose body's going to hold up. Let's give this 6 or 7 years through attrition, see who's there. We'll grab that guy on free agency or a trade, right? Shaq, Kareem, whoever it is, let's grab that guy. But when you draft a big or trade for a big earlier in his career, you don't know. And Porzingis has always had an injury history, and that is the problem. He cannot be a reliable, even number 2, because he can't stay healthy, and this is what winds up happening.
I don't disagree with Max, but it's more complicated than that. In the interest of full disclosure, I've known Rick Carlisle for years. I love the guy, and I think that he's a great coach. But I think that if you're the Dallas Mavericks, you're Rick Carlisle and you're Mark Cuban, you got to sit down and you got to talk about his future in Dallas. Over the last 10 years, they've been out of the first round 6 times, and the other 4 they didn't make the playoffs since they won the title. It's been a decade. I believe that Rick Carlisle deserves to be a head coach on the NBA level. No question about it. I think Boston would be a great spot for him. You understand? I have to wonder about him in Dallas. And here's why. And by the way, I'm wondering about Mark Cuban too. It's just that Mark Cuban's the owner and you don't get rid of yourself. I'm not advocating that anybody get rid of. Here's what I'm saying. The city of Dallas, stop the presses because I'm about to say something nice.
Okay.
I know they got the Dallas Cowboys there contaminating the city.
Stay focused.
I understand that. I'm focused. I'm very focused. Dallas is a marvelous city.
Yeah.
It is a marvelous city. Okay? And it's got no state income taxes.
And it's warm weather.
Right? And warm weather for the most part. Why the hell can't you recruit anybody to this franchise? No one goes to Dallas. No free agent goes to Dallas. Rick Carlisle did an outstanding job coaching this series. Look what he was working with. Did an outstanding job coaching this series. But repeatedly, year after year after year, they don't have the personnel. I don't know if Dallas has been a favorite in the last decade. I don't know if they've been a favorite. Dirk Nowitzki couldn't get anybody to come play with him. Luka, thus far, doesn't have anybody to play with him.
You would think you get free agents.
We thought Porzingis.
He thought Porzingis, but that was a trade that they were able to pull up because Porzingis wanted out of New York. My point is that what the hell is going on with the Dallas Mavericks where you can't get marquee free agents to consider your franchise, no state income taxes, good weather, great sports town.
And usually a cornerstone star.
Owner that brings attention to you. A fantastic coach in Rick Carlisle. Rick Carlisle knows what the hell he's doing. He needs to be someplace where they got personnel. Because if I can knock Rick Carlisle for one thing, it's an absence of the ability to recruit, and even that is suspect. Because guess what? Usually the stars will do it, or you got an owner who's a star in Mark Cuban, but it doesn't seem to happen.
And also Luka and before that, Dirk, you would think that those guys would attract other superstars. It is bizarre.
With that being said, do you feel like Luka's the best player in the world right now?
Here's my thing, Molly.
Yeah.
Prove to me that he's not.
I can.
Well, hold up. Prove to me that he's not.
I can.
Okay, you get your chance in a second.
Okay. Well, you said you asked the question. He's not. I said I can.
I presume that you will try
I'm
in a
waiting
minute.
to hear what you're saying, so go ahead, please.
Check this out. LeBron might be in decline. We don't know. He's got the ankle. He's older. He got knocked out in the first round. Can we definitively say at this moment, we know for sure, as we normally do, LeBron's the best player in the world? I mean, he might be. I've been fooled before because he got hurt 2 years ago. But before the bubble season, I was like, oh, maybe he's not. But we can't prove definitively that he is. Usually he has the playoffs to do that. Can we say KD is? He's not defending. You could say, well, it's because of his motivation. Whatever. KD, he's trying to defend. He's just not doing a great job of it most nights.
Yeah.
James Harden has been hurt, and now he's hurt again. Luka on offense, and his three isn't even where it's going to be pretty soon, but he can get it whenever he wants. Luka on offense. Let me tell you what the NBA is right now. There are about 5 or 6 players, 6 or 7 players, and every day of the week, one of them is the best player in the world. I'm saying right now, Luka spends as many days as the best player in the world as anyone else.
But that sounds like by default, Max. That sounds like you're saying Luka because all these other guys are banged up. Is that what you're saying?
Partly age, partly they're banged up, partly Luka's on fire, partly he can carry a team, an island of misfit toys. He can. Luka is as likely a candidate to be the best player in the game at this moment as anyone.
That's right.
Max's argument is completely diluted by the fact that he questions and has questioned whether or not Kevin Durant is the best player in the world. Because Max has brought up what he's lacking in defense. On KD's worst day, he plays better defense than Luka. That is a fact. Luka don't defend. We all know that. So if by virtue of the sheer consideration that Luka is the best in the world, then you automatically have to put Kevin Durant there. Because he don't play defense like Kevin. I'm saying Luka ain't Kevin Durant. And oh, by the way, Kevin Durant was an elite defender a couple of years ago. He's still getting back, even though he's healthier now and what have you. You know, we expect him to be even better next year. I don't see Kevin Durant getting slayed by defenders. You act like he can't play defense at all. I don't see that happening with him. I see Kevin Durant looking good on defense some nights. There's been plays where people have gotten the better of him, but I don't see him walking away with somebody getting smoked. Now, Jason Tatum just dropped 50 on them. Okay, that's one game. But I'm just saying, I don't see that. Now, let's get to Luka. When you say, you prove to me that he's not. Let me tell you a weakness that Luka Doncic has that I haven't heard anybody bring up. And anybody out there who said it, I'm sorry if I've missed it. I haven't heard it. Do you know how terrible Luka is offensively without the ball? When he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's standing still. He don't move. He doesn't move. Guess what? So in other words, do you have any? That is a problem. When I bring up Steph Curry, as great of a sniper as he is, what do I always bring up? His movement without the basketball, the fact that you have your head on a swivel. You don't know where he is. You're constantly looking for him because he's always moving. Trae Young, movement without the basketball as well. He's trying to find his little self. Where the hell is he? Because I can't leave this dude open. Damian Lillard, even though he doesn't move as much as them, still moves without the ball. Luka is a stationary target. Without the ball. Now I know what he does when he has the ball in his hands. Even though there's a couple of fourth quarters he didn't show up in the series, but that's neither here nor there. I know what he does with the ball in his hands, and I know.
But you're questioning defense, and you're questioning when he doesn't have the ball in his hands.
I just like to answer a few things.
And not the greatest three-point shooter.
He's not.
3 knocks from Stephen A.
Luka Doncic, everything you just said, there's validity to a lot of that. And Luka just played a playoff series.
Averaging 35 and 10.
36, 10, and 8.
So?
40% from the park. So He didn't have a second banana and took the Clippers 7 games.
Wait a minute. The Clippers just got bounced out 7 games last time we saw them by Denver. Are you telling me? I just need to be clear. Are you telling me that Luka Doncic is a better offensive player than Kevin Durant?
I'm saying he is like James Harden, only he shows up in big moments. He's James Harden, but in the playoffs,
That quote
it's
was
been
going to go places, like James Harden, but shows up when it
Did you
counts.
notice that? Did you not hear me ask this man a direct question? I did not. Did I bring up James Harden in my question?
No, but that was a good quote.
I understand that. Did I bring up James Harden? I asked you a direct question. Are you saying?
I'm saying
that Luka Doncic. I'm asking the question. Are you saying that Luka Doncic is a better offensive player than Kevin Durant?
I am not saying he's a better offensive player than Kevin Durant. I'm saying he may be as important that Luka. I can't say KD is better than Luka right now. KD's got to show it. He has the playoffs to show it. He's got to go do it.
Kevin Durant.
He's got to go do it.
A career 27-point per game scorer.
Yep.
A 2-time champion. Yep. A 2-time NBA Finals MVP, who we all acknowledge in his sleep can average 30. Are you saying that Kevin Durant has to prove? So Luka's home. Kevin Durant has to prove.
You're trying to be slick. Kevin Durant is trying to be slick. Kevin Durant is a better scorer than Luka. He's a better scorer than almost anyone who ever lived. Luka is much more like James Harden. He controls the entire offense, like Harden or LeBron. The difference is LeBron's hurt and Harden's hurt. Luka's not. That type of player might be the most important kind of player in the NBA. He's the healthy one.
No.
And the young one.
The conversation started off with you saying, tell me, show me he's not. Prove to me he's not. That's how it started. So what I'm saying to you is...
proving Kevin Durant here.
Kevin Durant's a proof.
As a one-on-one player, but it's not a one-on-one game. Kevin Durant, when Harden's been hurt this year, when he's been out, KD and Kyrie's record is not that impressive. When Harden plays, the record's very impressive. Because Harden, like Luka or like LeBron, is the dude that makes everyone around him better.
Well, you were liking Harden even more than Luka, but I think it's just Luka's now showed up in the playoffs. Harden, you needed to see that still.
I like
but
KD.
This season, you were really high on Harden.
I like KD more, too, if he's fully healthy. But I haven't seen on the defensive end that he's back to where he was.
It's a little bit based on default, Stephen A., because of injury in his age.
Yeah, that's the league changes.
He did not say Kevin Durant is not healthy. He said Kevin Durant has to show me he has to prove it. That's what he said. Of course, injuries with LeBron, injuries with Westbrook, injuries with Durant, injuries with Harden, injuries with anybody. We're not talking about that. I'm just saying, based on what we have seen,
hot in here.
The man has been in the league for 13, 14 years.
One person who agrees with Stephen A. is Michael Thompson, our very own here at ESPN, Clay's daddy.
Yeah.
Luka Doncic, no D.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, Stephen A. brought up 3 knocks
Kevin Durant's got something to prove.
What had happened was, all right, let's keep it going. Max, I cannot wait to talk to you about this next subject. We're not talking basketball next. We're talking boxing, okay? Miami, an internet sensation, went to blows with no real winners in a fight you guys might have heard about. Logan Paul went the distance versus Floyd Mayweather in the exhibition for 8 3-minute rounds. There were no judges, no official winner read, and the fight will not count toward either fighter's professional record there. The Florida State Boxing Commission did not officially sanction the fight due to the large disparity in size and experience level, though it was provided with a referee, Samuel Burgos, as the referee. Max, I'll start with you. Was last night's event good for boxing?
Stephen A., I'm curious to hear what you have to say on this, because I suspect I know.
I don't think it was good for boxing. I really don't. I'm disappointed in it. The state of Florida wouldn't sanction about a 35-pound difference. Floyd Mayweather came in heavier than he's ever been, usually fighting at 145 to 147. Fought at 155 last night. Logan Paul was at 189.5 pounds. It was like watching Rocky against Drago, for crying out. I'm talking about before they actually started boxing. I'm just talking about the size, just the appearance. I just look at it from this perspective. I love what Logan Paul and Jake Paul have done in terms of showing the boxing public that there's a way to make this money and to gain notoriety for yourself without being at the mercy of the promoters. If you want to say that it's good for boxing, I think that it's good from the standpoint that it puts pressure on the promoters, in my estimation, or it should put pressure for them to give us the fights that we want to see. Like, for example, there's no reason on earth that we should not see Crawford versus Errol Spence. We should see that. Okay, Anthony Joshua with Tyson Fury, we'll get that hopefully. But Wilder gets Fury for a third time again. Maybe Andre Ward will come out of retirement, Max. You'll know about that one day. I love Canelo Alvarez. He's my favorite fighter right now, and I think he's pound for pound number one in the world. You want to see those kind of things. But when I look at this, and I just say to myself, a world-class, all-world champion like Floyd Money Mayweather, giving a YouTuber this opportunity, who's had one fight on his professional record, and then you last 8 rounds, that's going to give life to novices out there who don't belong in the same class as these guys to think that they can do stuff like this. And I think that it's going to compromise the quality level of competition that we all salivate for when it really, really comes to boxing. As an aside, Max, just so you know, I don't know if you remember the former NBA player Kendall Gill.
Of course.
Yes. Kendall Gill and I spoke yesterday. He's been training twice a day for years.
Oh, yeah.
Boxing.
He's calling everybody out.
Well, he wants Jake Paul. He's been calling Jake Paul out for a long time. He wants Jake Paul badly. Mm-hmm. An exhibition like that, I wouldn't mind seeing that, Jake Paul, assuming you get past Tyron Woodley. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
I'll bet you we see that. I don't know if we see it next, but I'll bet you we see it. Right. Yeah. I don't think it was bad for boxing at all. I don't think it was a bad night. First of all, Floyd Mayweather's retired, and he's never coming out of retirement. He already made that clear.
Yes.
That was not Floyd Mayweather in a professional prize fight. That was Floyd Mayweather in an exhibition, which he deemed entertainment. He told everybody ahead of time what it was going to be.
He did.
This is no buyer beware. He told you. It's not like he sold you a false bill of goods. He told you this is an exhibition. I'm going to go out and have fun, which is what he did. Now, Logan Paul built up enough of a following, I would say, in social media, 20 million people, that he brings a lot of economic clout to events. And since he's much bigger than Floyd, and Floyd's been retired for years and everything, there was something about it that was intriguing. We can't pretend it wasn't. Who didn't want to see it? People bought it. Because this is all you need to know. Ding, ding, round 1. You watching, yes or no? Floyd and Logan Paul? Oh, yeah, you're watching. That's all you need to know. Everything else doesn't matter. And does it hurt boxing? Let me tell you, you brought up Rocky and Drago, right, Stephen A? That's not the right Drago reference. The right Drago reference is Apollo and Drago. What you don't want is that in an exhibition, right? Oh, no one got knocked out, and Floyd just kind of played with him after the second round and walked him down and kind of didn't really want to finish him, it seemed, and all that. Well, do we want the opposite? We want Floyd to kill him, right? Is that what we're looking? Do we want Logan Paul, rushed to a hospital in an ambulance? Is that what we're looking for? No, it's an exhibition. Were you entertained? Yeah, I was entertained. By the way, good undercard, Hurd and Arias. That was an upset, real good fight. You got to see Ocho Cinco. That was a night of entertainment. Now it was. You don't want to pay $50 the next time one of the Paul brothers fights or Mayweather. Don't do it. No one's forcing you. But I'll tell you this. There are some events people try to make, and the public's just like, I don't care. That wasn't this. People cared. I got no beef.
Did they care because of Paul or they cared because of Floyd?
Well, they cared because of the combination, but we can't ignore a dude with 19 million followers on Instagram, which is what Logan Paul has. That's number 1. Number 2.
And he fought as hard as he could.
I'm not knocking him. He did fight as hard as he could and what have you, and I get all of that. What I'm saying is that when you look at Floyd, and the quality of guy that he went up against, and the fact that guy lasted 8 rounds, you're going to see a situation where folks out there are obviously thinking about making money. No crime in that. But they're going to continue. But I would remind you, the great, phenomenal Jim Lampley, Larry Merchant, and others lamented for years. People picking and choosing their level of competition. It usually isn't the stiffest. And now it's been taken to another level. Because if I got YouTubers out there who ain't quite ready yet, to go up against big-time boxers and what have you, all right? And they're lasting. Excuse me, if I find the right opponent to entertain folks, I don't have to worry about getting in the real fights.
Know what, though, Stephen A?
Things
Know what?
can compromise boxing.
Know what? Here's the thing.
Compromise boxing.
I would understand that if the argument is, look, the boxing public only has so many dollars in terms of disposable income. They're only going to buy so many pay-per-views. And if they're spending money on this, that means that fighters who deserve it more, Terrence Crawford, they're not going to spend money there. That's not what's happening. This is not the boxing public that's buying these fights by and large. These are casuals. These are people who follow
but that's when sports are really on another level. When they bring in the casual viewer, Max, not just the avid followers.
What I'm saying is you're not soaking boxing fans here. They'll have disposable income for other fights. You're not taking that away from fighters.
To be continued. Back to the NBA. Jason Kidd has already bowed out from the Blazers coaching search.
Jared, I think my charge is to try to get as many good football players on the team as possible and let them go out there and do their jobs and play the style of football that we want to play and let the chips fall where they may. Everybody's undefeated right now. It's a new season. Everybody has a chance to go the distance and win the thing. So ultimately, it's our job to try to put a team out there that's going to be competitive, that's going to play stylistically the way that we want to play. And I'm excited about this team.
Stephen A., if my memory serves me correctly, 2019 AFC Championship game, Tennessee Titans, Kansas City Chiefs. Do you think the Titans are the biggest threat to the Chiefs now?
Right now, I think they are. Because I believe in Derrick Henry that much. I think that he's a deal changer, no question about it. The brother's big time. He just rushed for over 2,000 yards. I think like the 9th player in NFL history to do so. He's an absolute stud. He's still healthy. Somehow, some way, his legs haven't given out on him. Got a new contract, well deserved, by the way. I actually thought he deserved a little bit more in the guaranteed dollars than $25 million. Because that averages out to a little over $6 million a year or so. I think he deserved more than that. But that's neither here nor there. John Robinson's doing a good job. And I'm a Vrabel fan. I like Coach Vrabel. I like that hard knocks, tough, kind of demeanor that he has when it comes to his football team. And I think they resemble it. I think a lot of times, obviously, offensively, they could have been a bit better because all they really had was Derrick Henry. Now, again, you did have Tannehill complete 65.5% of his passes, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and we know that he's been good for them. But nevertheless, they've been limited. Corey Davis, as good as he was, wasn't necessarily reliable. As Keyshawn pointed out, was inconsistent. A.J. Brown is a young stud. You put Julio Jones on the opposite side, you're going to change this. I don't think you're going to run the football as much as you used to because you don't have to. You don't get Julio Jones to throw the football less. That's not what you do. And I think that an offense can serve a defense because I think that their defense won't spend as much time on the field. I think their defense, as a result, particularly with Janoris Jenkins and Bud Dupree leaving Pittsburgh to go there, I think the defense would be upgraded to a degree. And I think offensively they're going to be a force, and they're playing in a relatively weaker division. I think the combination of all those things put them in a position that come playoff time, I think that they'll be a big-time threat. I like what Tennessee has done here.
Nope. It's the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are going to be the biggest threat, and they play in Week 1 to the Chiefs this upcoming season. In fact, are the Chiefs going to go undefeated, or are they going to have a loss after Week 1? Look, why are we talking about Tennessee right now? You talk about the run game. You sure that Derrick Henry is better than the combination of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, particularly running behind the best run blocking offensive line in football? You know what else they were? The best pass protecting offensive line in football. Both. It almost never happens. They were both. But you know why we're talking about, in fact, Tennessee right now? Really? Because they just got Julio Jones. Boy, it's going to be hard. Like, who else is going to add a receiver? Like, who? Excuse me. The Browns are adding Odell Beckham Jr. Mm-hmm. The Browns might be adding a better receiver than Tennessee right now. Adding them to the best offensive line, both sides. By the way, anyone make a real splash, picking up a big name on defense, like, I don't know, Jadeveon Clowney, getting a guy like Greedy Williams back? Like, the Browns' defense should be better, but the real story is going to be the offense. And now you look at quarterback. Baker Mayfield was 10th in the league in QBR last year. And I know, you look at Baker Mayfield, you look at Tannehill, you say maybe it's about a wash. Who do you think has more upside? There's a reason that Baker was drafted 1 overall, and now he's got this squad. that's, if anything, gotten even offensively better? No. The Browns are the number one threat. Cleveland Browns, number one threat in the AFC.
I don't know. Vrabel, I think, is advantage in the coaching department, though.
Well, Stefanski's did a hell of a job. He did a hell of a job last year.
Yeah, but that's
but that's the argument. See, that's the argument that you gave, but you actually let Max off the hook here. I'm surprised you did that, Molly. I'm surprised you didn't catch Max with his drivel.
What?
Isn't this the guy that said that Cleveland was better off without Odell Beckham Jr.? Because when having Odell Beckham Jr., Baker Mayfield has a problem because you're prioritizing throwing Odell Beckham Jr. the ball, or you're looking for it, and as a result, that could get in the way. So what I'm saying to you is this: Odell Beckham Jr. coming back, Jarvis Landry still being there, and by the way, you with Baker Mayfield having a good season last year and being markedly improved. The reality is that again, you're going to be a bit judicious in terms of spreading the football. And when you ask the question directly, Max, is Derrick Henry better than the combination of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb? My answer would be statistically, yes.
But what do you think?
Because wait a minute, he ran for more yards than the both of them combined.
Okay. If you said I'll give you Derrick Henry, you give me Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. No.
All I'm saying, over the long-term, yeah, but if you're talking to me for a game or
I want to get into the Odell thing. You were right about one thing, wrong about the other. You were right to identify that I had said that Baker's better off without Odell. It's not because, he now has to be they don't have chemistry. Part of that is because Odell can push back, right? Hold on. If I'm out on the field and I'm not getting the ball, Baker, everybody else better be going crazy. But here's the difference now. That was coming off a season where they really weren't very good. Now they're coming off a season where Odell wasn't there and they were really good. So Odell has to be an addition who can't take away, and he knows that going in. If he remains on the squad, that's just additive. You have a great all-around football player in Odell as a receiver who can do everything. You put him on a team which is run-centric, it is only going to help them.
So you just finished saying with a straight face that a wide receiver has to come in understanding that they're not going to be a primary target, that they're not going to necessarily get the football.
Necessarily.
I mean, that's what you're saying, that a wide receiver has to come in there and have that understanding.
Necessarily. No. He has to know. He has to know. He can't be a distraction.
Real quick, because we do have to go to break, and Stephen A. is going to get mad at me to say, well, you don't give us time. But I just got to say, there's this team called the Buffalo Bills as well.
Sure.
Let's not forget. So they're
there. Offensively, I think they're challenged. I think they're challenged because, Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs needs some help.
But Josh Allen has more upside than Baker or Tannehill.
Yeah, I'm saying that, but I just think they need more help.
At the wide receiver position, but not at quarterback.
All
right. We'll leave it. Might be a changing of the guard in the NBA. The 8 conference semifinalists have combined for 5 titles total, with the 76ers being the last team to win it all. That was in '83. None have won a title since the playoffs expanded to 16 teams in '84. Max Kellerman up first. Who wins this series? Talk to me.
I think the Nuggets win it. It's really tough to call. I think the Nuggets win it. And let me just say before I say anything else, it's heartbreaking that Jamal Murray can't play on this Denver team. I think that if Jamal Murray was on this Denver team, they get out of the West. I'm confident in saying
I agree. I agree.
It's a huge hit. Now, they happen to have a very deep roster of guards who can play, right? And so it makes up for some of it. But the number one thing, Porter Jr. can shoot the lights out, and Aaron Gordon was a great addition to the team. Jokic is the best player in every series he plays. He'll be the best player in this series, too. And by the way, what do I mean by best? MVP of the regular season. Last time I checked, as you would say, Stephen A., Chris Paul and Devin Booker played in the regular season. They weren't the MVP. Jokic was. And now we're in the postseason. And if Jokic was the type of dude who you're like, yeah, but he's limited what he can do in the postseason. Sometimes bigs are like that. You need another star with him. But this dude can shoot from the outside, can pass as well as any big man who ever lived, can take the ball up if you need him to. That he remains the same MVP guy in the postseason as he is in the regular season. That makes him the best player in the next series, and I think this thing goes 7, and I think the Joker wins it.
I think it goes 7 as well. But a 7th game would be in Phoenix. And I'm going with the Phoenix Suns to win this series in 7 games. It's tight. It's dicey. Jokic is Jokic. DeAndre Ayton's going to have to be ready. They're relatively small without DeAndre Ayton. I get all of that. I see the elevation of Michael Porter, who I'm very, very impressed with. I like this kid a lot. I think that he's a future star in this league. I said, but I will tell you that when I look at the floor generalship of a Chris Paul, assuming he's healthy, I look at Cameron Payne, who I've been very impressed with coming off the bench and being as active as he is. Devin Booker is Jamal Murray plus, potentially. We've seen Devin Booker. He's a star. We know what he brings to the table, okay? So you got Devin Booker, and you got Bridges, and you got Ayton, and you got CP3, and Payne, and Johnson. I'm looking at them, and I'm saying, excuse me, I could see this going back and forth, back and forth. Could I see this finishing in 7 with the Phoenix Suns pulling it out? Yes, I do.
It just kills me that Jamal Murray's
Yes,
not in
I
the
do.
series.
Yeah.
I would not pick Phoenix if Jamal Murray were healthy.
When I think back to the bubble and the first round, him and Donovan Mitchell going back and forth, that's how you get a rivalry in the NBA. Like, you have two young guys around the same level on the way up doing that. Jamal Murray, I just want to remind people, last year had a game of 50 points and no turnovers in the playoffs. 50 points and no turnovers, and you're a point guard. It was unbelievable. But Campazzo, you can throw different guys' names out there. There's, we talk about playoff Rondo. Stephen A., I'm here to tell you, there's playoff Rivers. Austin Rivers in the playoffs.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He really has a knack for stepping up. And when I think of where he came from, early in his career, it's the worst pick-and-roll point guard you ever want to see in the NBA. He had a name because the Rivers name, everything was like, and he was a great high school prospect. It was like, oh, my God, he's terrible.
Get that
He ain't
big-time
terrible
game-winning
anymore.
shot against Duke against North Carolina, too, which is one of the most beautiful scenes you'll ever see with Doc Rivers and his children in attendance, and Rivers hit that game-winning shot against North Carolina. I mean, that's what
He's got it in him.
is made of.
He's
right
got
there.
it in him. It's in the
beautiful.
bloodlines. But like, he went from he is a real threat in the playoffs. And you look at Aaron Gordon, the way that trade is working out.
Aaron Gordon. Yes.
Jokic knows just how to use him. It's going to be a great series.
Jokic is special.
Absolutely. All right, I hear you have info, so let's keep it going. In hours of Terry Stott and the Portland Trailblazers parting ways on Friday night, their star Damian Lillard made it clear that he wanted Jason Kidd as his successor. This endorsement not sitting well with Kidd, who formally withdrew consideration from the gig, saying Dame's public proclamation left him uncomfortable and feeling like he would put both Dame and Portland's process in an awkward circumstance. Stephen A., who should the Blazers target as head coach to keep Lillard happy?
Well, to answer the question, number one, it was right to have been Jason Kidd because that's who Damian Lillard wanted. Mark Jackson, yet again, I'm going to bring up that name yet again, our colleague and analyst here at ESPN. How the hell this man don't get interviews? It's just beyond me. It's just beyond me. Mark Jackson should be interviewed by Portland. Mark Jackson should be interviewed by Boston. Mark Jackson should be interviewed for damn it any head coaching job out there in the NBA, considering what he brought to the table. Max, I'll leave a couple of names to you.
I just want one name. They were
on my list. I'll leave that. Chauncey Billups is a name I'm going to throw out there as well. But let me get to this Jason Kidd thing, because I will remind everybody, I know I'm doing First Take, and I got Stephen A's World, and I'm a very, very busy man in studio. But I have been covering the NBA for a quarter century. I do know a lot of people, and I know everybody involved in all of this stuff with Jason Kidd. Everybody. Now, let me say this. Jason Kidd's name comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Damian Lillard throws out his name.
Gave him an out.
They're Oakland natives, both of them. They've known each other for years, okay? That's why Damian Lillard did that, because he respects the brother and he knows him, all right? Then all of a sudden, all this noise comes out about Jason Kidd's past. Molly, domestic violence, 2000, 2001, I believe it was, DWI, 2012. I would remind everybody that since that time, no other incident has happened. Jason Kidd has had not one but two head coaching jobs in Brooklyn and Milwaukee. But somehow the Knicks job comes up, people start talking about his past. Okay? The Lakers job, because they wanted him before Frank Vogel, people start talking about his past. Now Portland comes up, and people start talking about his past. And I find that a tad bit odd, How all of these stories just suddenly percolate right when it seems ideal that the brother's about to get a head coaching job. At some point in time, it's like this. Excuse me. What about merit? The merit of what you do? Because Jason Kidd has been happily married for over 10 years. Ain't had no incidents to speak of or whatever. Okay? And if you're good enough to be an assistant coach on a team, okay, then your merit should decide whether or not you're the head coach, as opposed to somebody bringing up stuff from 20 years ago. All right? So I find that a tad bit odd. He was not uncomfortable. You'll have to figure out how I know this. He was not uncomfortable with Damian Lillard recommending him. He was honored that Damian Lillard would recommend him for that job. Now, Neil O'Shea is running the show in Portland, okay? And he finally decides to get rid of Terry Stotts. And all of a sudden, you hear these candidates, and conveniently these stories come leaking out. Max, now you know me. I'm a very, very busy man, like I said, until you require my attention and ask me to, and essentially force me to look into stuff. I have better things to do, but now this got my attention because I want to know why. I want to know why, and all of a sudden, you understand, a name like Jason Kidd comes out, and we start hearing about all of these things that we all knew, but nobody talked about. And every single time, he comes up for a head coaching job. That's the only time somebody says, wait a minute now this man's employed. Ain't like he ain't been unemployed. He's employed to the NBA.
Yeah. Like it's okay for him to be an assistant. It's not okay for him to be a head coach.
Real quick, the way I read him saying he was uncomfortable was, it just sounds to me like maybe the Lakers job might be available before too long, and maybe he would be considered for that.
It could be, but I doubt it. But that's not it. He was not uncomfortable. He was not uncomfortable.
Let me say this. I'd love to see Sam Cassell. You always talk about paucity of African-American head coaches. Well, if you go to retreads, guys who've already had jobs, you're not entering any fresh blood in there. Why not a guy who's paid his dues in the assistant ranks, Sam Cassell, a champion as a player, as a top assistant coach, get his name in there. And I really like that idea of Sam Cassell.
Yep.
And
so do I.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah.
And by the way, Jason Kidd, just so you know, Jason Kidd with Sam Cassell, where their strength comes in, particularly with Jason Kidd, why the Lakers were so interested in him, it was Jason Kidd that developed Giannis. He's big on player development. Him and his team. When you play with Jason Kidd, or you play for Jason Kidd, you get better as a talent. Yusuf Nurkic. Just a thought. Just a thought.
You give Dame whatever coach he wants.
Yes, you do.
Lillard says, I want
Neil O'Shea.
Who would you want, Kidd or Cassell, if you had a choice?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Sorry, you gotta do it. It's first take.
I would say Kidd. I would say Kidd because Damian Lillard wants him.
Well,
Neil O'Shea.
Matt?
Unless we want to show that Damian.
You got to give Lillard what he wants.
Give Lillard what he wants.
Back with more good stuff tomorrow. See you then.